crossing my.
At least 10 years.
Yeah.
So if it dies in a year, you're gonna be pretty upset.
Yes.
Yeah, anyone else feel the same with the new vehicle? Like 250,000 miles or until I get sick of the color. That's how that works, right? If it ends early, we're mad. So that's the sticker says this, that's what we expect. What about the machine you woke up in? How long is that supposed to last according to the manufacturer? The machine you woke up in that you only get one of. No trade-ins, sorry, not yet. They're working on that. Kurzweil's people have been working on that for a while. But how long is this thing supposed to last that you woke up? It's a biomechanical machine made out of meat and water. It's supposed to last about how long before it completely fails? Someone know? 85. Betty White would beg to differ. Right. So how long is this? Because if one person can do it, we all can do it, right?
100 years.
100.
Yeah.
Okay, 85, 100. Anyone else? Longer, shorter?
121.
121. Is that like, is 100 normal, do you think? Well, it's not normal because we're not doing it, but is it achievable for most of us? You can't, the 9-year-old that's going to die of cancer today, we can't say, hey, you should live to 100, right? So there's some genetic stuff that we just can't deal with yet. But is the rest of it, if you show up fairly healthy on a regular basis, should we all go to about 100, 120? That you guys, or is there a general consensus that the sticker on the window says about 120 years out of the machine? And if it ends early, it should be like, oh, that's a problem. Yeah, I look at this, you guys, I get one of these. It's a $50 million machine made out of meat. Like if I don't take care of this thing, it's my fault. I'm not waiting for somebody else to take care of it. Just like, it's hard with a Tesla, right? If you don't change the oil, wait a minute, there's no oil. If you don't put good gas in, wait a minute, there's none of that either. But the rest of you guys with an automobile that runs on petrochemicals, right? Dead dinosaurs are running our machines. If we don't put good gas in and good oil and change the oil regularly and maintain the brakes, we expect that thing to not last as long. But we don't look at our own body that way. We just wait for somebody else to fix it. I don't know, my doctor tells me what to do. I don't know what I'm taking. I know people that are on drugs that they don't even know what they do. They just, whatever the doctor tells them to be on. Is that a smart move? Or is that maybe a little bit too much power shoved somewhere else because we don't want that power? And maybe we don't want that power because you guys, I'm a nerd. If you can't tell, right? Because of the tattoos and the bald head, I'm a super nerd. I'm going to quote Spider-Man within the first 5 minutes of knowing you. With great power comes
great responsibility.
And we just don't want that. We're too busy. I got enough stuff going on. I got to be responsible for this thing living to 120. That sounds like too much work. I'm just going to see what happens. Just a wing and a prayer. Let's cross our fingers and hope. How many of you guys are running a business on hope and dreams? Yeah, we don't do that with our business. We don't do that with our car, but we tend to do that with our own body. So you guys, I'm here today to help you get here. Because I'll tell you what the science is saying today. And the science is never settled on anything. It's how, imagine if the science was settled on the earth being flat. You guys all know it's a round ball, but we used to think it was flat. A couple of people now think it's still flat again, but it's a round ball. Okay, so what we've learned about the human body all the way up to 2022 is that this thing should live to about 110 to 115 before disease ever starts. That's Liz Blackburn's work in genetics. Liz Blackburn, does everyone know who she is? We all know Kim Kardashian, but not a lot of people know Liz Blackburn. I think we are making the wrong people famous, okay? Liz Blackburn won a Nobel Prize in medicine for discovering telomeres on the end of your DNA chain. Telomeres can predict how long you live, right? We haven't perfected the test, but they get us close. She's saying as a species, and this, she's saying that won her Nobel Prize, that we should all live to about a 110 to 120. Just like most dogs should live to 13 to 15. We kind of know the range. If a dog dies at a year old, too young. If humans die at 56 like my dad, something went wrong. What caused the early death of this person? Because it's not supposed to last 56 years. It's supposed to last about 110. You guys know how Betty White died? You guys know what she died of? Old age. Can you imagine dying of old age? I wish my dad would have died of old age. He'd still be alive. He was 56. He died of lung cancer. He suffocated to death in the hospital while I watched. I was the last person to see him alive, and I watched him die with tears in his eyes. Because that's not how we're supposed to go. My mom died at 74. The last 9 years of my mom's life, she didn't recognize her family because of the Alzheimer's. The last 5 years, she couldn't walk because of the arthritis. She had liver failure, kidney failure, type 2 diabetes, heart failure, died of lymphoma. Her oncologist says that she should have never had lymphoma. My mom drank 2 liters of soda a day, never exercised a day in her life, and she ate French fries every day. Every day. Turns out you can't feed this thing French fries and expect it to last much past 74. In the United States, we don't live much past 78.8. You guys all know that, right? Is anyone in insurance in here? It's 78.8. That's the average for Americans. But yet all the scientists, David Sinclair's research in longevity, David Sinclair's been at Harvard studying human longevity for 30 years. He's saying humans should live to 120. He was formerly MIT, now at Harvard. Walter Longo, does anyone know Walter Longo, the guy who wrote the longevity diet? One of my favorite books on food, right? He's studying at the Salk Institute right now, still alive. He's saying humans should live to 120. The general consensus in the scientific community when we look at longevity is that this machine should last somewhere in here. And we're only lasting to that. And that's sad because those 30 extra years of healthy life, not 30 years in a nursing home going on like my mom did, you guys. If you're already at that point, I don't want you to live longer either. But 30 healthy years of you still contributing to your community and hanging out with your great-great-grandchildren, I think we're all capable of achieving that. Some of you are thinking, how are we going to afford it? It's because we don't retire at 55 anymore. Heck, we shouldn't retire at all. Shouldn't we still always be doing something for our community? Isn't that one of the secrets to living a long, healthy life? We'll go over a little bit of that. Okay, so my goal here is that you get closer to this, not that, because that's not right. What are we dying from? What kills Americans? Do you guys know? Number 1 cause of death in this country. Yeah, cardiovascular. How much cardiovascular disease is preventable according to the NIH? Yeah, somebody just take a stab.
85.
Almost, yeah, about 90. Okay, so the number 1 killer in the country, it's 650-ish thousand Americans are dying of a preventable disease. That's important to note. What's number 2? Number 2 cause of death in this country. So cancer. How much cancer is preventable? My dad died of lung cancer. He's a 2-pack-a-day smoker and a raging alcoholic. Was his cancer preventable? Yep. My mom died of lymphoma, drank 2 liters of soda a day, never exercised a day in her life, and ate fried foods every day. Was her cancer preventable? Her oncologist says 100% it was. How much cancer is that? That it's lifestyle cancer, not single gene disorders that are killing our children, but rather multi-gene epigenetic responses to something we're doing every day.
I would go 70. I don't think about environmental.
Yeah, about how much?
70.
70. So if you Google this, you guys, you'll find 60 as a pretty standard number, but if you go to Johns Hopkins, they'll say closer to 90. So you're right in there, right? Meaning that 10% of cancers are diseases that we're born with. Mom and dad gave you some garbage. Good luck to you. You should have picked better parents, right? And we know we can't change our parents, so some of us are stuck with stuff. I'm stuck with some genetic nonsense that doesn't allow me to get good sleep. That's why I need 9 hours to feel amazing. And I've got clients who need 6 and they feel great, right? I'm stuck with some garbage that mom and dad gave me. I know that because I've tested it. We'll talk about that too, but 90% preventable. Whose job is it to prevent these diseases? Let's go get them. Let's go choke them until they comply. Whose job is it to prevent cardiovascular disease in him? Is it his insurance company's job? Is it your doctor's job? Is Big Daddy government going to come in and stop you from getting heart disease? As if that was true, Burger King would be illegal, right? Smoking kills 480,000 Americans a year, and cigarettes are completely legal. If anyone cared about our health, that wouldn't be legal. Alcohol kills 1 out of every 20 people you will ever meet in your life. 1 in 20 dies of alcohol, directly, not indirectly from drunk driving, but directly from the 200 diseases alcohol causes. And I can go get alcohol whenever I want it. That's crazy to me. So whose job is it to keep you safe from heart disease? We all know that, but yet that's not the narrative when I leave. That's not what I'm hearing on TV. It's not your fault. Just take this pill. You're going to be great. One of the things you'll never read in my bio is I spent almost a decade in pharmaceuticals. I don't put that in there because I'm not really happy about it. But they're the ones that taught me human physiology. They taught me that this thing is always pill deficient. Do you know why they taught me that? because it's super good for sales. If you're pill deficient, hey, you can't sleep, it's because you need this pill. Your joints hurt, it's because you don't have this pill. Not that there's something else wrong, it's just the thing is broken, it needs some pills to fix it. Guys, I'm not anti-modern medicine. I'm anti-responsibility and relying on somebody else to fix our machine. When this thing, I carry this around all day. I'm gonna put some good inputs in, and then the output fixes itself. You guys all know that, right? We live in a self-healing machine that fixes itself. I cut my hand on a tree the other day. And not because I got mad at the tree, just because I was trying to not roll my ankle. So I grabbed a tree and it had a branch sticking out. So do you think this will be here in 3 months? Heck, in 3 weeks, it'll be gone. The thing heals itself. And the better material I put in for it, the better it heals itself. If I drink soda and smoke cigarettes, this would take way longer to heal. We know that. So we're going to look at whose job it is to prevent these. And if we all agree that it's ours, then we're going to stand up and do something about it. At least the role that we can play. Can't go change your parents, but you can change the environment you're in daily. Do you guys know the 3rd leading cause of death and the 4th leading cause of death in this country? I just want to go over the next 2 because they're scary. And I want you guys to understand that to get here, you guys all did number 4. That's the number 4 cause of death in the United States, is getting in your car. So I beg you to put Facebook down and maybe turn the lane departure on your car if you have it off, right? I love Tesla for that. They've really done some advanced things with AI. Those cars practically drive themselves. Automobile accidents are the 3rd leading cause of death in the country. Above that, as this is no joke. Are there any doctors in here? Okay, I've had a doctor in the room get super mad at me. Not tell me until after when he wrote a book on how bad I did. But he was pissed at me for explaining that the number 3 cause of death in the United States, between 250 and 440,000 Americans every year die of medical errors and prescription drug overdoses. So you guys, we've got people that are on so many drugs, they don't even know what they're on. Getting procedures that, I don't know, when a doctor just says they need to do this. And you guys, it's not that physicians are evil, it's that they're so busy doing so much stuff because we refuse to take care of a machine that they make some mistakes. That's tragic to me. I mean, these are above diabetes and liver failure. We're dying of going to the doctor and driving there. That's crazy. All we have to do, I talked to a 78-year-old Vistage member 5 weeks ago who told me his diabetes, his type 2 diabetes was out of control. Are you guys familiar with A1C? How they test your blood sugar if you're diabetic, a 3-month test of a rolling blood sugar average. His A1C was 8.6. And when I met him, his A1C is 5.4. Not awesome, not 4.5 where it should be, but 5.4 from 8.6. And he said he did this in 6 months. He's 78. His doctor was like, guy's gonna die with diabetes and it's only gonna get worse. I spent 10 years of my life in that field. I asked him how he did that. You know what he said? I just paid attention. I just paid attention, which is magic for getting diabetes to go from that, like, oh my God, you're gonna lose your eyesight in the next 10 years, to just a little bit above normal. At 78, all he did was start paying attention. So that's what we're gonna do today. We're just gonna pay a little bit more attention. Like when you're driving. You guys all know cruising Facebook while you're driving isn't a good idea. Pay attention. You guys all know that if you are talking to a physician, pay attention. Are they talking about root cause, or are they putting a Band-Aid on something and sending it on your way in hopes that you try to fix it yourself? Pay attention. That's all. We're going to talk about 6 things you can pay attention to daily that'll help you live longer, better, faster, with less disease. The side effects of targeting these actions. Keep in mind, these are side effects of targeting the 6 things. Are weight loss, better mood, better energy, better relationships, and more productivity. Weight loss should be a side effect of helping your body live longer. It shouldn't be the primary goal. It should be a side effect of the actions you take. Is that fair? You guys ready? Should we do the excuses first? I can't be healthy because I don't have enough what? Is that true? Or do we make that up so that we don't have to be, because we're creatures of comfort and we're always comfortable? Isn't that how this works, you guys? Well, I mean, look at your dogs. Seriously. The descendants of wolves. Who's got one that kind of looks like a wolf? Who's got a dog that's still kind of big and fuzzy with big teeth? What do you have?
He's a pit mastiff mix.
Oh, wow, that sounds beautiful. What, 120, 140?
He's 85.
Okay.
Yeah, it's his chow that keeps us.
Long hair?
Around his neck, yeah.
That's gotta look like a small little lion in your house. I
Yeah.
love it. Who's got a tiny dog? Like backpack size animal, right? So the same species of animal, right? The genus and species are the same. It's just a subspecies bred to look a specific way. You guys, this thing is kind of like that. If you want to watch what should happen to humans, watch what happened to wolves. Okay, what happens when we put a dog in the house all day long and give it free access to food all day, every day? What happens to that animal? It keeps eating and eating and eating, and it becomes unmotivated to do anything else. Isn't that what's happened to humans? You evolved and were designed to live in that same place that wolves came from. Humans, if we use strict Darwinian evolution, 2.5 million years in that magical, mystical place that we don't go anymore, called outside. Right? I like it. I like evolution with intelligent design because there's no reason our brain should be this big. It doesn't follow strict Darwinian evolution because why don't the dolphins have cities then? They've been evolving about the same amount of time. So something happened along the way that gave us a little, granted, dolphins don't have this. This is magic, right? Anyone that's ever held a hand up knows this is magic because it helps us hold tools, and other animals really don't have that. But as we belong out there, and the inputs that we would have seen out there are necessary, and they happen without me asking people what to do. Just like I don't have to tell a wolf what to do, mostly because I can't talk to wolves at all. I don't know that language. And I'm made of meat, and if you get close to something with big furry teeth, fur and teeth and knives on its feet, you're gonna get eaten. This program, if you say you don't have enough time, you're right. You don't, because that's how your brain works. You guys are all aware of that. Have you learned that yet? That the brain doesn't know what reality is. It's 88% of the brain does not have a clue what's real and what's not. It believes what you tell it. That's why placebo works in science. You guys all know the placebo effect, right? The placebo effect, when someone in a costume lies to you and you believe the lie and something awesome happens. That's happening because most of your brain has no clue what is real and what's not real. So it believes what you tell it. When I say I can't, I'm always right. If you got kids that you're still raising, that's a lesson they need to learn. The minute you say I can't, stop trying, you're going to be right no matter what. Because your brain won't let you live in incongruity. Or we can look at this list and go, I can be healthy because Dan can be healthy. And if Dan can be healthy, anyone can be healthy because he's not that great. Guys, I broke a world record because Paul did it in England. And I'm like, I can do it if Paul can do it. I was a runner for 3 months. You guys ever do something so silly? Like say something out loud that you should have kept to yourself when somebody hears it. Yeah. Paul broke a world record by getting on a treadmill and staying on for 2 days. His secret was left foot, right foot, repeat. I could do that, right? So I did because I said I could. Right? There was no option not to in my head. So if you want to be healthy, then be healthy. I need 4 hours of your week on your calendar, non-negotiable. You have to take care of your machine. If you're not willing to do this, fine, but stop expecting to be healthy if you're not going to put a little time into this thing. Just like stop expecting your car to last 250,000 miles if you never change the oil. It's going to have some problems, okay? The other excuse I get is it's too expensive to be healthy, and that's usually from your employees, not from people who sit in a room like this. If you believe that, then I have some people in Peru to introduce you to. These folks live on $50 a month. They live almost as long as Americans with no access to modern medicine at all. So here's how it turns out, you guys. The actions are free. The tools cost money. And shouldn't we, if we have a little bit of money, invest in some of the robots that make this all easier? Do you guys know if I don't like the food that's out here, I can grab my robot, hit this small piece of glass and have somebody bring me Indian food whenever I want it? That's where I live. Robots make food easier. So I'm going to use the tools to assist me in the list of actions. It's a $0 program if you just stick with the actions. It's a double your money back guarantee. If you want to see the actions, I'm just going to take you and put you back out there, and then you do all of this. Who's been fly fishing in here? What's the natural state of humans when they're fly fishing? Calm, relaxed?
Bird.
Yeah, right, just kind of chilled out. That's humans when we put them back out there until there's a bear. And then what happens? Oh my God, freak out. I have to outrun my slowest tribe member. Right? Never, you guys will know. Look, if you're taking any notes at all, it's carry a knife with you when you're outside in case there's a bear, so you can cut somebody else and run. Okay, you're made of meat, you're very slow, and you're incredibly weak. Have you guys noticed that at all? I always ask people for do your own test. You got a giant laboratory, it's right out there. So step into the laboratory with no technology on you and see how you fare outside. Because if you didn't have technology, you wouldn't do so well out there. You're middle of the food chain at best. You're slow, your camouflage sucks, you have no night vision. Your claws break off sometimes using a computer. You guys ever have that happen? Where you chip a claw? I put my hand in my pocket the other day and cracked my nail. My claws broke off because of cotton. I'm gonna be useless outside. I'm up against bears out there some of the time. But I gotta go get my food. So look, this thing is easy. We're gonna do a list that we would do if we just step up there. Same list your ancestors did just 500 years ago. Till we had buildings and then everything changed. What's the first thing on the list? What do you think is gonna be the first thing to pay attention to daily to make this thing last longer? What is it? You guys gotta talk to me. Sleep. Sleep. Number 2 cause of weight gain in undeveloped nations is not going to bed. It's not profitable to tell you that, so you probably haven't heard that, but that's the number 2 cause of weight gain in undeveloped or in developed countries. In the United States, employers in 2016 lost $400 billion in lost productivity alone from people coming to work tired. That's not the accidents and injuries that are being caused. That's just lost productivity because we didn't get enough sleep. What else?
What you eat?
Food. Turns out that's pretty important. Stop saying food is fuel. As you have a magic ability to store fuel for later if you get too much of it. What's stored fuel called? Does everyone have some of that? Everyone in here has some? So you don't need fuel, do you? You got some. What you need is raw materials. Who manufactures stuff in here? What do you make?
Chairs.
Can you imagine making chairs if the raw materials that came in were grass clippings? How are you gonna do? You're gonna make good chairs with grass clippings coming in? Probably, he's probably just gonna throw his hands up and go, forget it, I can't do it. How do you think kids are gonna make new kid when all we give them is French fries? There's no raw materials in French fries or white bread. But we give it to them and say, kids need to fuel their body. Yes, fuel doesn't matter. Raw materials matter. Anyone in manufacturing will tell you that. We're gonna look at food as raw materials from now on. What else? Water. 65% of your body is water by volume, and the average American drinks 16 ounces a day. You think that's enough? 75% of your brain is water. It's probably not the best thing. What do all other animals drink exclusively? How many of you give your dog red wine at night to wind it down? No one? Diet Coke in the morning? It's got to get going. Come on, let's go. It's dog stuff to do. Get a Diet Coke. So you guys know you can give your dog Diet Coke and wine and it won't kill it right away. Just like Diet Coke and wine won't kill you right away. It takes a couple of decades for some of this stuff to show up. So maybe we do it a little less often. We focus on water as our primary beverage. Like when you go hiking, who's ever been on the trail for 5 days or 3 days? Do you take Diet Coke with you? No, you just take a canteen and some water and hopefully one of those steri straws so you can filter your own on the way in, and because you can't possibly carry 3 days worth of water.
Can I ask you a quick question?
Yeah.
I use Propel flavored water.
Yeah.
It's water, but it's flavored. I don't know how bad that is. Is that?
I don't mind the flavor. I mind what else they might be putting in there. So I like to look at ingredients. If there's sucralose or aspartame or synthetic sweetener or tons of cane sugar, probably not the best idea to do all the time. This brand, I'll talk a little bit about this, but this brand, Nuun, N-U-U-N, they make a tablet that you can drop in your water with none of the garbage in it. And it tastes just like one of those beverages with none of the synthetics.
Yeah, it's not take your time. Tried to get like 12 bottles of one and 12 of the plain.
Yeah.
And just alternate. So I'm not doing all just flavored water.
Yeah, my only concern is if there's too much synthetic sweetener, your pancreas is going to have a really bad effect long term. So just check out how that's working and maybe do something like that instead of Propel. I was looking at Propel's ingredients, most of them are sucralose, and it's just not a healthy thing for the body. If you can find a stevia flavored water, Limit, these guys make a good one, LMNT. They left a bunch of vowels out. Apparently that's cool to do now, but they have a really cool product that you can put in your water with some electrolytes and no sugar, none of the garbage. So there's a couple of things that we can put in instead if we don't like the taste. We'll get into a little bit of that. What else? How do you get your food? How do animals get their food?
Raw.
How?
Raw.
they have to go get it, right?
Yeah, interesting.
There's no Uber Eats in the forest, you guys. I've tried. I've been in the Amazon jungle in Peru and tried to get some animal to give me food, and it doesn't work that way. So it's called exercise, and it's necessary daily in some form or another. There's also no gym memberships out there. So we'll talk about how that works in the natural system and how you might incorporate that living in the cages. Number one, cause of doctor visits in the United States. Yeah, I just dropped that in there, right? You guys know you live in a cage, right? But that cage is awesome because it keeps me safe from the nature killing me. You guys know nature still kills a bunch of humans globally. What's the number one cause of death in undeveloped nations? You guys know? It's the mosquito. Upper respiratory infection and malaria from the mosquito. What's number two in undeveloped nations? You guys know the number two cause of death in undeveloped nations is
Distance.
diarrhea.
Bad water.
Yeah, diarrhea from dirty water. I love it. The owl just spoke. Sorry, I don't have the luxury of seeing you, but I do see a cute little owl on the table there. So yes, that's diarrhea from dirty water. And we don't look at technology as really being that big of a thing, except technology is saving your life every day because we get filtered water and we get buildings that keep us safe from some of the animals that could be eating us. Your car, can you imagine if bears had cars? Oh God, we would be middle of the food chain again. They're running us off the road, just jumping out going, this one's got raspberries in its belly. That's a bear's favorite food, by the way, is raspberry food. Okay, so we know we're gonna have to move. What else? What's at the top? The number one cause of doctor visits in the United States. That's it right there. If you haven't seen the statistics, I'll cite them for you. 70% of every doctor visit in this country is stress related. Anxiety, depression, high blood pressure, stress. In your normal state, I already asked you, normal state of humans when they go outside is, yeah, it's pretty chill. It's nice out here. Especially once you've got food and water. Then it's pretty easy. That's the list except for number 6. Number 6 is a word coined by number 6 is a word coined by Nassim Taleb. Does anyone know Nassim's writing? He wrote a book called Black Swan, business anomalies that can't be predicted and what to do about them. Fantastic read. His second book is called Anti-Fragile. And this concept to me is fascinating because this machine needs some chaos to grow. I'll prove it. Every system in your body works this way. If you want bigger muscles, what do you have to do to your muscles? Break them down. In that chaos comes growth. You ever meet somebody who broke them down too much, picked up a 90-pound dumbbell when they shouldn't have, tore their bicep muscle right off the bone? So we can tear the machine apart with too much chaos. What do you do to get denser bones? You jar your bones against gravity, right? You pick up heavy stuff or you run fast and then you get denser bones. You ever meet a runner who fractured their metatarsals? Now you have a fracture of the small little bones in the feet from running too much on hard concrete. It's a problem. Turns out you can't heel strike without a bunch of cushion there, so stop heel striking. Anyway, fracture the bones in your feet, then they need some time to heal. So it's anti-fragile. It needs chaos to grow. Too much chaos destroys the system. We're going to talk about what that means for your longevity and your lifespan. Is that fair? By the way, your relationships work like this, your business works like this, your spirituality works like this, learning works like this, it all works like that. You need some chaos to induce the growth, and with that growth comes pain. We're going to learn some lessons that we can teach our kids and grandkids. Growth comes with pain, always. That's just how the system works.
What was the author's name in that book?
Taleb, T-A-L-E-B. Nassim.
And it's called Anti-Fragile.
Yeah, that's the title of the book. It's a great read. In science, this is called hormesis or hormetic stress. And I'm gonna graph this for you so you guys can understand this a little bit easier. Look, for your 4 hours a week, you're already sleeping, you're already drinking, and you're already eating. So when I devote time on my calendar to take care of my machine, I'll do a little bit of these things. I'll devote some time to my machine to get rid of stress. We're not gonna manage this anymore. That's ridiculous. And then we'll go get our food and we'll kill some of the week. I call this killing the week. Not in your neighborhood, I mean in your body. But it's kind of the same concept, right? Do you guys know how you made it here? Have you guys ever thought of how a wet bag of delicious meat got buildings and the bears didn't? Other than the fact that you have this. You're here for 2 reasons. So behind this list, I want you to think of 2 things all day while we talk, okay? I want you to think of how can I be supported by others in this? Because that's one of the main reasons you made it here. If I take you right now and I strip all of the technology off your body and shove you out there naked, you're in trouble. Not downtown. You'll probably make some money downtown naked. But if I shove you into the woods, you're in real big trouble. Unless I put you with 150 people. That's called Burning Man, right? No, that's 40,000. But if I put you outside fully naked with a bunch of other people that all have the same goal, stay alive and find some food, you're going to do a lot better, aren't you? Turns out for humans, that tribe size was about 150 people for 2.5 million years. That's now called Dunbar's number. You guys have all heard of Dunbar's number. You guys all know that one? You can only have meaningful, deep-seated relationships with about 150 people. Robin Dunbar was an anthropologist out of England that determined that, and he's like, well, that's because tribe size in humans was about 150 people for forever. And then when we got too big, we split off and formed new tribes until they grew to about 150, and we kept doing that. That's important because if you're in a business and your business ever grows past about 100 to 150 people, you will see it radically different to maintain culture. It's one of those things that's stuck in the human brain because we spent so much time out there. Same reason your kids need night lights to go to bed at night. It's because we used to get hunted by cats and a campfire meant safety. That's why we still want a night light as children. It's one of those things that's stuck from all of our time out there. So keep in mind, in 150 people, for you to survive and make it here, you are 4 things. And look, we're going to go through a lot of really cool stuff about the human body. And if you don't want to take notes, I applaud you. Don't. It's all coming in a PDF when we're done. You're going to get an email from me, a PDF of all this. Not slides, but an actual readable document. But I want you to write 4 words down because this is the most important thing I'm ever going to say to anyone ever in the history of my life. The most important thing I'll say is one of the primary reasons you made it is because 150 people, you were needed, valued, loved, and important. And if you're not that, good luck. Good luck surviving in 2022 if you don't feel needed, valued, loved, and important. That's the #1 secret to longevity. I like knowing that because it's free. I just have to make sure something bigger than me needs me, loves me, and I'm valued there. If you look at mental health in this country, maybe it's because we don't have that anymore. The average American has less than 8 friends. You went in a very short amount of time from 150 people who loved you and needed you to, who cares? Right? It's weird. Maybe our family, if we have children, yeah. But when they get bigger and older, then what? That's why so many people have that midlife crisis when the kids are out of the house. It's because, my God, nobody needs me or loves me anymore. It's weird. We get really weird like that. So make sure you're connected to something big where you're needed, valued, loved, and important. The other reason you're here is I already mentioned it because you use technology and no other animal does. And technology, we forget, that's sanitation, that's buildings, that's modern glass so you don't get a sunburn while you're sitting in your office. Technology is this piece of clothing that keeps me safe from the elements. Technology is amazing, you guys. This thing, oh my God, do you realize what this is? All the information in the known universe is right here and it talks to me. And we say this is driving our society apart. Is it? That's like saying a hammer is a murder weapon. A hammer can be used for murder, but what's a hammer really used for? Building stuff. This phone is used to communicate with Penelope, who's 800 miles away from me. I talked to her twice today. This is bringing us closer, not driving us apart. If it's driving us apart, we're using it wrong. We're using the tool incorrectly. This is amazing. Technology should help, not hurt. If it's hurting, gotta go use it different. So keep that in mind while we're looking at this list. How is Tribe gonna help you? It's the most important concept I'll ever talk about. And how can you use technology to make this easier? Fair? That third excuse, I'm sick of it. It's 2022, guys. Let's get on the same path here. If a doctor says, tell me about your family history of diabetes, you need to immediately ask why they're asking. Because it's not 1850. It's 2022. We can test for your family history of diabetes with a DNA test. Takes that long and it's less than $200. You guys all know that, right? You can test for genetic predispositions towards diseases that you're carrying from your family. And if you haven't done that, I encourage you to do that one very, very soon. If you don't want GlaxoSmithKline buying your data like they do from 23andMe, Brian's second email to you will have a link of a guy that will test your DNA without selling it to Big Pharma. So, and he's not going to give it away to your insurance company because a lot of people worry about that. So go get your DNA tested to see what you're made of. Because when people say obesity runs in their family, I grab them gently by the shoulders and I shake them a little bit and I say, no, nobody runs in your family. That's the problem. Most diseases are not genetic, they're environmental. And if you look at David Sinclair's research for 30 years at Harvard, he'll tell you that 90% of modern diseases are environmental diseases. They're epigenetic diseases, not genetic. Genetic is what mom and dad gave you. Epigenetics is how that responds to the environment. And if you have a crappy environment, you're going to have a crappy output. That's how it works. They've done the twin studies, you guys. These amazing studies where one twin is a cop in the inner city and one twin is a fishing guide in Montana. Who do you think is going to live longer? And it's not because the cop is getting shot at, because the other one might have bears. Who do you think is going to live longer with a stress-free life fishing every day versus a guy who's eating at McDonald's fast food and always has to worry about dying? Environment matters for your health and you're in control of it. So if you want to live longer, realize that your DNA responds to 3 primary pathways to decide what to express and what to repress based on your environment. Are you guys ready? So this is the second most important thing I'm going to say all day. Your DNA responds primarily to the environment through thoughts, movement, and food. If your thoughts, movement, and food are aligned with someone who will live to 100, then you are 90% likely to live to 100. If your thoughts, movement, and food are, I don't know, let's see what happens, then good luck. You're going to live to 78.8 and die of cancer or heart disease. That's not how we're supposed to be going out. All you have to do is pay attention. Thoughts, movement, and food. Thoughts, that placebo effect works in the opposite way. We forgot that. You guys know there's a such thing in science called the nocebo effect? Has anyone heard that term? Fascinating that nobody ever talks about it because maybe they don't want you to know, they, whoever they is. But think about this for a second. How do you feel after watching 3 hours of the news? Just yell the words at me. How do you feel?
Miserable, frustrated.
Miserable, frustrated. Anyone else?
Overwhelmed.
Overwhelmed,
Angry.
stressed, mad? Do you guys know 78% of all the commercials you'll ever watch on regular television are drug companies? 78% of every commercial on TV is drug companies selling you something to offset what you just told me happens when you turn on the news. Think about what happened. Images on a flat piece of glass changed your physiology for the worse. That's a real thing that happened because you watch stuff on a flat piece of glass. Those aren't real. Those are images you saw. They might even be fake. We don't know. You don't know either. You'll never know. All you know is that how it made you feel. Yes, that's the nocebo effect. About 2 months ago, right when Ukraine was ramping up the war over there with Russia, there's a gal that sat right here in the room. This was in Kansas City. She's from Ukraine, and she started telling us about her mother. I got to tell you a story, she said. She interrupted this whole thing to tell the story. My mom was diagnosed with cancer. Doctors said it was terminal, and there's nothing they could do. Day after her diagnosis, she started losing her hair. A week after the diagnosis, she could hardly get out of bed. She'd almost lost all of her hair, and she got a call from the doctor. That wasn't your blood work we screwed up. You don't have cancer, you're not sick at all. She was dying from the diagnosis that wasn't even hers. That's a real story from somebody who sits in a room like this, from her mother. She almost lost her mother to nothing. That's how powerful the nocebo effect is if you believe the lie. So when you step in front of the mirror and you go, I'm fat, I'm ugly, I'm stupid, and today sucks, guess what's going to happen to the body? It's going to match the chemical response to that. Versus stand in front of the mirror and go, I'm going to live to 100 no matter what. This is awesome. Oh my God, I have a car. That's great. I'm in the wealthiest 2%. You guys realize everyone in the room is in the wealthiest 2% of the world? If you have a phone and a car, you're in the wealthiest 2% of the world. 48% of the global population doesn't even have indoor plumbing. 8 million human beings starve to death every year. None of them are you. 8 million human beings starve to death, and you're made to feel guilty for eating pizza. You know, we're going to fix some of this stuff because we have a really great life. We don't need this. Do we? How many of you are stressed out and your partner or somebody that you love goes, I love it when you're stressed. You're amazing. Kind of a jerk, huh? Do you guys all agree? Don't all agree at once. Do you guys know stress is fight or flight? This is your bear response network turning on. Do you know fight or flight has a third F? It's called the F3 system. What's the third F in fight or flight? In Texas, Do you know Frederica down in Houston, Frederica Brecht?
I don't.
She's this tiny little woman, runs the group. I was in Texas, this is 5 years ago. I'm like, it's fight, flight, or without prompting, she yells out, firearms, and screams it at me. I'm like, welcome to Texas. That was the best welcome I could ever get. It's not firearms, it's not how it works. Sneak up on your dog, what's the first thing it does? Freezes. That's first. It's first in every animal. And then what? Then it gets the zoomies, right? Yeah, then it mobilizes into some sort of action, even if it's just playing. Sneak up on my dog, it does the exact same thing, but if you sneak up on my dog, it's going to be a little different action that it takes, right? If it doesn't know you, we have German Shepherds at home. They take a little different action when they don't know the person. This is you when somebody runs a stop sign. Is it not? It's a quick freeze and then bam, you got to do something, you brake, you swerve. How many of you, when somebody runs a stoplight in front of you, just let go of the wheel and go, gosh, I hope this goes well for me. It's almost unconscious that we take this action. This is the same system you're turning on when you're having thoughts about a meeting that hasn't even happened yet. The average American stresses not about bears, do they? Anyone, raise your hand if bears are in the office and they're a problem. No. Would you manage those bears, just a couple of workers a week? Or would you eliminate? Right? What would you do? Or is it just let's eliminate the bear? This bear is going to be a problem. But we're told to manage stress. There's nothing you do about it. Everyone has it. As this is not a normal state of humans. You shouldn't have stress. Unless your life is in danger, then by all means, take action or something's going to go horribly wrong. What do we stress about in our modern society? It's not bears, it's what? Think about the last time you got stressed. What was it?
How well the meetings go.
So it was people. It was probably, do you guys think it's stressful to be up here in front of you? I love what I do, so it's not, right? But it's fun for me. It's more of a performance. Other people stress us out. Can you imagine the tribe stresses you out? Gosh, if the tribe is stressing you out that bad, find a new tribe. You're an adult. Nobody's keeping you there. What else? What's the other stress that your employees have?
I'm thinking monitoring.
Will I be able to pay my rent and buy food this month? It's money. A made-up construct of human society that we use to buy goods and services stresses us out. The tribe we hang out with stresses us out. Put those two together for 9 hours a day, 5 days a week, and I have one of these things. Yes, it's called a job. Have you heard of these? Where people go to a place they don't want to be so they can make a little bit of this stuff so they can go buy food and then hang out with the people they really want to hang out with. And we do that over and over and over again. Do you guys know job satisfaction is not so hot in the United States right now? Nowhere is money. Are those stressors? Does that sound like the last time you guys were stressed? Is either about a person or about money or a combination therein? How about when we see a bear, how long does that event last? I used to say, how long do bear attacks last? Raise your hand. But let's be honest, nobody's got an arm left over if they've been attacked by a bear. They're probably not even sitting here. Who's seen a bear in nature? Like for real, outside of your car. Where were you?
Wyoming,
Wyoming. How long ago?
2 years.
2 years ago? And you were with who?
My father,
Just the two of you?
yeah.
And how big was the bear?
He was a grizzly, so
Woo,
9 feet.
900-pound monster with knives on his feet, you guys, that eats delicious humans. And how far away was it?
Probably 200 yards.
So that's about a 10-second gap to close if you're a bear. Okay, it's a lot longer if you're a human, by the way. It's not that long if you're a bear. And what did you do?
Froze.
And then what? Took pictures, pulled out Facebook?
Yeah.
No, okay, wait, that's important. It's important to note that when she was stressed, she didn't take out Facebook and bitch about it. What did you do?
We froze until the ran away.
Yeah, so your action was to take no action because that was one of the big fuzzy bears that you don't want to run from, right?
Yeah.
Right, because they tell you that in the pamphlet. The bears wrote that pamphlet, by the way. Like, when you see us, don't run, because those are the slow bears and they don't want you to run. But tell me about your heart rate.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so your adrenaline's up?
Yep.
Cortisol's up? Blood sugar's through the roof. Do you guys know that when you're stressed out, your blood sugar goes up? And then when that sugar runs low, you start eating M&Ms without realizing it? That's why none of you stress eat salads, do you? No, it's always something sugary and fatty because blood sugar's up. And you're gonna need these hormones. Those are necessary. There's a bear. How long did that whole event last?
7 hours, probably like 4 seconds.
4 seconds, right? And it's like, oh my God, it's moving. If that thing would have started moving towards you, you wouldn't have just sat there and hoped, right? It would have been like, all right, are we supposed to use the bear mace? Is the 10 millimeter pistol? What do I have at my disposal? And how can I back away slower?
Yeah.
Right? That's what you were taught to do. If you guys know anything about bears, is don't just sit there and hope. That's the worst strategy ever. Okay, it's some sort of action, sometimes very, very slowly, sometimes violently if that bear is an imminent threat, right? It's not hope. Hope and dreams is not going to make the stress go away. The average American doesn't stress for 4 seconds over money. How long is the average American in low grade fight or flight because of money? You guys ready for this statistic? It's 10 to 12 hours a day. Yeah, if that bear was present for 12 hours a day, I would drink too, especially knowing it was going to be back again tomorrow and the next day and the next day. 20 years of that? Yeah. What disease is this making worse if it's already present? My heart rate is up, my blood pressure's up. What disease am I going to exacerbate if it's already there? It's high blood pressure screaming at you right there, and it never goes away because it's on all day long over money. So heart disease will be made worse if it's present. You can't be stressed out and have heart disease and make it better. What disease is this when I start eating those M&Ms and my sugar goes through the roof and then it falls and then I eat more sugar and it goes through the roof? Yeah, right? Because of the insulin response that goes along with this. How about type 3 diabetes? Have you guys, we all know type 2 diabetes. You guys know what type 3 diabetes is? The NIH started using this term back pre-pandemic in 2018. It was the first time you could see this in publication, and then they stopped talking about it. That's what they call Alzheimer's. They've been calling that for 4 years. Type 3 diabetes is Alzheimer's. And if you want to look at the progression of diseases in this country, we're in some trouble. Because if you got full-blown type 2 diabetes, Alzheimer's is right behind it. The brain is peripheral tissue, you guys, and if the eyes are being affected, that 3-pound sponge right behind the eyes are also going to be affected. If you guys know and love somebody in your life that might be afflicted by that, I want you to read the book, The End of Alzheimer's by Dale Bredesen. It's one of my favorite books on Alzheimer's. Simply The End of Alzheimer's is the title.
If you answer this later, just move on.
Yeah.
But when that sugar goes up,
Yeah.
and you're right, I actually do go for candy M&Ms.
Yep.
If you answer later, that's fine, but what, if you feel like you need to eat something, you want to eat something, what should it be?
I'm going to show you what fruit.
All right.
If your body's saying, put sugar in, fruit, fiber, water, chewing are always in context when you eat one of her foods. Carrots, raspberries, strawberry. I like the berry family because they're lower glycemic. Shove a whole pint of berries in there. Yep. Or I'll show you how to get rid of that sugar. Because if I just burn through it, it's going to be a lot easier. I'll show you how to do that too. Guys, this isn't normal for 10 hours a day, but it's normal if there's a bear. If it's on for a couple of minutes, good. That's why you're here in this room. It's because you activated this at some point in your life. Maybe it was a near-miss traffic accident. Maybe it was bears. Okay, but if it's on for 12 hours a day, it's going to cause problems. Do you guys know when cortisol is elevated beyond its normal level, it starts blocking testosterone receptors? Is everyone aware of that? If cortisol is high, you will not produce as much testosterone or use the testosterone you are producing. So your testosterone, your usable testosterone will plummet. There's a hormone that fills the gap when your testosterone is plummeting. What's it called? Do you guys all know? It's the it's not quite an opposite hormone. It's called estrogen. This relationship, high estrogen, low testosterone, muscle loss, libido loss, accelerations in bone density loss, brain atrophy, and exacerbations in just about every cancer known to humans. That's not making things any better, yes. Heart disease, cancer, diabetes, Alzheimer's, fatty liver disease is in there too because of what the sugar does with the liver, especially for drinking that sugar. You guys ever accidentally drink an entire bottle of sugar yourself? Call it wine, right? Yeah, because we're stressed out. Mama needs another glass of wine, right? I heard that from my mom. Like, you do? We're that bad? God, maybe it's me, right? This isn't normal. And here's how you used to deal with this. When there was a bear, you would take action, it'd be over quickly, and then right back to, whoo, let's tell some stories. And now it's all day, every day, and everyone you meet, they're always stressed out. We wear it like a little badge, like we're the sheriff of Stress Town, because that makes us feel important, and that gives us attention. And isn't when our life is in danger, all we want is somebody to come help? If you saw a bear in nature that was imminently running towards you, would you or would you not ask somebody to help you out? scream a little bit louder. If there's tigers in the village, it's not, oh, I'm gonna go do this quietly by myself. It's, let's get the tribe together and go get rid of this tiger. I'm gonna scream for help if it starts eating my feet. Okay? This is the magic word. It's my second favorite word in the world because a lot of us just don't want to do it. So here's the deal. The next time you feel stressed, do we all know what that feels like? It's when your Apple Watch beeps at you and tells you to breathe. If you don't, get an Apple Watch. It tells you to breathe when you're stressed out. Has anyone used that feature? Yeah? Yeah, it's amazing, right? It picks up a blip in your heart rate variability before you even know you're stressed. It tells you, hey, breathe. Like it has to remind you to breathe. You guys are all doing that anyway. You don't have to be reminded. This thing is telling you something's going on with you. You need to take a minute. I like the robots for that, you guys. My Ring doesn't do that. I'll talk about this Ring in a second if you haven't seen this. But here's the deal. The next time you feel stressed, I want you to pick an F and go do it. Go do it like your life depends on it because it literally might. So we're going to talk about this one. It's the easiest because you don't have to think. The next time you're stressed out, your sugar starts going up, I want you to go do push-ups as fast as you can. I want you to start doing burpees for 3 minutes. I want you running outside as fast as you can run as though a bear is chasing your family and is going to kill you all if you don't run fast. 3 minutes, that's it. 3 minutes of massive explosive exercise and all of your muscle groups gets you to dump every one of these things. That's why they're on. It's because your brain doesn't know you're not in physical danger, so it's trying to mobilize hormones associated with bear attacks. So go dump them. Who's got kids in here that they've tried this with? Exercise the kids until they're nicer. You guys, does it work?
I used to bang that when they were little run around the house. Yes, it worked.
It works. It works in children, and you haven't changed species that I know of since you were a child. You're probably the same. So it works in adults too. The next time you're stressed, go hit a punching bag for 3 minutes and tell me if you're not a nicer person. Calmer, nicer people make better decisions. And they don't die from these things being left on all day long. Easy. But it's socially unacceptable, so you're probably never going to do it. You're not going to step out of a business meeting and start doing burpees, are you? Keep that in your pocket, though. The next time you don't want to think and you're stressed out, go run. Go for a nice fast sprint for a couple of minutes outside. Watch how much better you do when you get back in. Now, if you don't want to do that, look, I like running, but I don't like running away from bears all the time because what happens tomorrow? More bears. What if I turn and just eliminate all of the threats? The more threats I eliminate, the less threats I have tomorrow. So I'm going to turn and fight. I like this one. I have to put some thought into this. It's going to require a little mental effort. We're going to still use the physical body to turn stress off, though, because the hormonal response is not healthy. And I can turn that off without running. I'm going to turn it off by just asking you to do something with me right now. You're going to learn in 1 minute how to get rid of the stress hormones. Ready? Close your eyes. And just while I talk, just keep your eyes closed. And Owl, I'm going to assume that you're watching me with your eyes closed. So let's just listen for a second. The act of closing your eyes tells the brain that you're not in danger. So it starts to calm down. Next time you're in a heated argument with somebody, just politely excuse yourself. Ask if you can close your eyes while you talk, because you will be calmer and nicer. Second thing we're going to do is with our eyes closed, we're going to send a secondary signal to the brain that we're not in danger. We're going to hijack our own breathing. I don't want you to pay attention to it. I want you to take over. Let's just do an inhale and do a breath hold again. Ready? One inhale, go. As deep as you can. Make it hurt, like really big. Hold that for me. The physiology says about 9 seconds. Let's go all the way to 20. Just gonna hold our breath. Hang out. And send a tertiary signal to our brain that we're not in danger. When you exhale, I want you to say the following words out loud so you can hear it. I am safe. Aren't you always safe, you guys? When you're done with that exercise, open your eyes. On a piece of paper, write down a statement of what was stressing you out. This is a journaling exercise. We have to get a look at the bear. What was stressing you out? I'm stressed because the money doesn't work. It's too vague. I'm stressed because second quarter sales numbers are 13% behind target because I lost 2 of my biggest clients to a competitor. There, that's something that we can actually write down and do something about. What was stressing you out? One thing I love about the United States, you guys, is I'm pretty much always safe. Aren't I? Am I safe in here with you guys? Was I safe on the way over here in my car? I mean, relatively speaking, yeah, as long as everyone else is paying attention too. Am I safe on airplanes? Safer than in the car. I'm always safe. You guys, there's no bears, there's no mosquitoes. I haven't been shot at once this week. I'm doing okay. I like being here. What's that?
Is it normal that you're getting shot at?
Well, no, because I don't live in Detroit, but the Detroit people love that joke. I do live in Minneapolis, though. Okay, you guys, this life is pretty easy. I don't need stress. So if something starts bothering me, I immediately write it down, figure out what it is. But to calm down, I did 3 things. Put these on your list in part of your toolbox. You guys close your eyes, hijack your breathing, and remind yourself that you're not in danger. That's all your brain needs to calm down. It's just some reminders. By the way, if you want a really great book on breathing, James Nestor has, I think, one of the best books I've read on breathing called Breath. It is a fantastic read. So James, Nestor is the author's last name. And I'll remind you, you're getting a suggested reading list as well with all of these titles. I just like to highlight some of them because they're vitally important. Okay. And then when you're done with that, tell me what it is, and then make a list. You can use triangles or squares or circles. Make an action item to-do list of stuff you will do to eliminate the bear. When I was in high school, I finished 2 years of college, graduated from high school, went to Argonne National Lab, and I made superconductors for the summer. So if you guys are ever wondering what nerds do after high school, that's what they do. I went to NDSU as an organic chemist. I was going to finish a 4-year degree in 2 years. I had a job waiting for me at DuPont. I had a full ride scholarship. Life was good. Early 1990, I got a call on the landline. You guys remember those phones that don't take pictures? Yuck. But I got a call on the landline, and it was my mom. My mom said, I'm homeless. Dad left. So you come help. My mom's bear was homelessness, you guys. Now, I don't like to compare lives because I don't know you guys. I know my mother, but I don't like to compare my life to hers. But man, my life is pretty damn easy compared to what she had to go through. My mom dropped out of school in the 4th grade to work on the family farm. It was the early 1950s. You could do that kind of thing. Meets my dad, gets married, falls in love, has babies. I did that in the wrong order of the story. They fell in love and then got married. My dad was back from Vietnam drinking and smoking professionally, but they had a rule in their relationship. Dad works, mom raises kids. So my mom went from working on the family farm with a 4th grade education to being mom. Nothing in between, no education beyond the 4th grade. Well, 23 years later, the guy that buys all the food just walks away, takes all the money, takes their only car and leaves. And in 1990, because we didn't wear the tracking devices, you didn't find a person if they didn't want to be found. That's just how it worked. My mom had never even filled out a job application. She ended up homeless in less than a month. No food, no car, no job. And her first order of business when her bear was homelessness, you guys ready for this? Was call the tribe and have them come help. I'm going to tell you right now, if it works for homelessness, it'll probably work for the meeting coming up. If you have stress, I want a list of names. If you had to take a minute to calm yourself down, I want to know who's helping. So one of the most important questions I'll ever ask anyone for any reason ever is who's helping. You have a luxury, if you're in this room, of having the tribal elders gather once a month to discuss how to make things better. Maybe we use this for the little stuff too. Who's helping? If I have a medical thing going on, I have a team of physicians I call. Most of them are my friends because of what I do, but I don't rely on just one thing. I call the team. If I have something in my business that's going on, I have a team of people that have been mentoring me for the last 8 years. I call for help. I never do it alone. You can't fight bears alone. Let's start getting people involved in this. That's important. It was so important that it saved my mom's life. I dropped out of school and went back home and supported my homeless mother. I had to sell my car and walk to work. Thankfully, I lived in Bismarck and it was pretty close no matter where I went. But I had to do that for a year before I could afford a car to support my mom. Never went back to school. Didn't go back to school for a decade. And then I got an undergrad and 3 master's degrees on top of it because I was re-motivated. Because this matters. Had my mom not done that, she might have not made it. She made it all the way to 74. Second order of business was for her to get a GED. She had to get an education. Education doesn't change the situation. It changes your response to the situation, does it not? How many of you guys have read the 4 Agreements? You guys read that book? The 5 Love Languages, read that book? done Myers-Briggs or disc training at work, and now you realize why women and I don't get along. We like each other, but it just rubs me the wrong way. Maybe some of that flushes out through education. How many of you have a household budget that's written down? Wow, right? How many of you had a class on that in high school, a full class on how to write a household budget, do personal finance? No wonder money is a stress. For a lot of people, they don't have a written budget, they don't know how to use money. They just hope. I hope my paycheck's big enough. I hope I can cover my expenses. You guys, hope is the worst plan ever. And if you're running your business with no written plan on finances, maybe we get one at home too. Look, my mom, for her, the GED changed her life. For me, it was martial arts training. The education on how people move through 3D space changed my life and has saved it more times than I can ever count. I've been studying martial arts for 35 years because when I was 12, it saved my life, and it's saved my life plenty since then. I'm going to tell you right now, if you want to go work on the Alaskan pipeline, you have to go through a 4-hour class called How Not to Become Lunch. You guys know what they teach you in that class? How not to become lunch. It's right in the name. Because you're made of meat. They teach you about bears. They teach you about how to respond if bears do this. They teach you about what certain postures mean. That class, that education isn't there to stop bears. It's to change your response to bears, to lower your threat levels, to lower your stress response, so you can go be more effective at being a human. These matter a lot. I would encourage you the next time you have stress, I want you to ask yourself, how can I get tribal support for this instead of doing it on your own? And the second thing is, how can I educate against this so it never happens again? It's not a normal state of being. You guys, whatever else is on your list is going to be situational. I would encourage you to assign tasks to others. If you're a leader, isn't that a good use of your time? You do your things, be the creative leader. The rest of the stuff should be assigned to others. I do that with my own house. I don't do my lawn. I suck at lawn. Does anyone not like to mow their own lawn? I hate it. So do you hire somebody to do it?
Yeah.
Best money ever, right? Because now you're not a slave to your yard.
My parents maybe both 3 acres with a push mower.
Yeah. Ew.
There's your
Smart exercise.
As soon as I left, they bought a wild one. My dad said, "You were the wild one."
That's how I am, but I know some people that love to mow their lawn because they meditate while they're doing it because the lines have to be perfectly straight and they like the smell. Great, that's not me, so I assign that to someone else. Let's get really good at that. I want to make sure this journaling exercise goes into your toolbox because this is one of the reasons why the executives I work with don't have stress. Because when something pops up, we immediately go to work. This is the magic word if you've got stress. What action are you taking to eliminate the bears? And if you can't think of an action, like what if weather is stressing you out? Okay, maybe we need to stop stressing out about stuff we can't control. If his actions are stressing me out, am I responsible for his actions? No. So I have two options. I can just deal with it, or I can leave, right? Maybe if it's something I can't control in another person, I need to find a way to create that distance. I don't know. I don't know your life. I don't have stress anymore. I certainly have stuff that pops up, but they don't stress me out at all. I'll tell you what I do to manage some of that. I put things in context. Because if I tell you I go to a place on Saturdays where for 2 hours somebody's trying to choke me to death, does that sound like a fun place to go? For 2 hours, grown men are trying to choke me to death with my own pajamas. Does that sound like fun? Right. So that's Saturday, and I choose to be there. It's called jujitsu class, right? We're all wearing pajamas and people are trying to choke each other. And for 2 hours, I'm just defending myself. You guys, I'm 155. I'm usually on the bottom with giant people trying to choke me. It's great, because what's Monday going to throw at me that's worse than that? Nothing. What, traffic? I'll never complain about traffic when I'm in my car. Do you know why? Because I am traffic, and that makes no sense. You guys all know that, right? Complain about traffic in your helicopter, not in your car. You are part of the problem if you're in your car. So, okay. So the context I get from my Saturdays creates an easy life on Mondays. Okay, do something hard to make the rest of your life easy. Any one of our soldiers knows that. Some of them can't stop. Veterans in here? I work with some people that are veterans and they just can't stop operating. Some of those guys can't turn that thing off. So we have to find something else for them to do, right? But I want you to think about this. What if I just send you fly fishing every day? How's your stress level gonna look then? If every day of your life you just go fishing? Pretty good, right? Well, let's go do that. It's called meditation. Let's meditate every day. Maybe it's not fly fishing. Maybe we don't have that ability. Who snow skis in here? Go skiing every day. Sucks in the summer, doesn't it? I'm a scuba diver. You guys, do you know anything about the geography of the United States? I live in Minnesota. Scuba diving sucks there. So when I want to meditate from scuba diving, I have to go down to the Caribbean. I like to surf, and the surfing is worse in Minnesota than the scuba diving is. So I have to go to California for that. But those to me are meditation. If I can't do that, I'm going to go to hot yoga. Because guess what yoga is? Especially when the room is 105. It's meditation. We call it active meditation. Tai Chi and yoga people have called this moving meditation for thousands of years. Go join a kickboxing class and tell me if it's not meditation. Find a way to put the body in motion where you have to pay attention and you'll meditate no matter what. I guarantee it. How many of you guys have ever done that accidentally? Meditated doing your gardening? Or just hanging out on the boat trying to catch something to eat? It's great. Find a place for that on a daily basis to set the stress level high enough that you don't get there. Calmer people are easier to be around. We all know that. Do you know doctors in the 1950s used to prescribe fishing for high blood pressure? Because fishing is meditation, and you're not going to think about the sales numbers when you're out there casting your line into the river trying to catch food. If you can't do that, we'll do passive meditation. This is simply hit the play button on an app, or sit there with your eyes closed and don't. We're always busy doing. How about don't? Just don't do anything. Just sit there. When's the last time you guys sat with your eyes closed and didn't do anything for like 20 minutes? You usually fall asleep. Sit up in an upright posture and just close your eyes and watch what happens. Because if you don't take time to create space in there and you're always reacting, how are you going to build anything? So this is my advice. For me, with people I deal with, it's mandatory 20 minutes a day. As part of your 4-hour time commitment to yourself, you have to do some sort of meditation for 20 minutes a day. Whether that means you're gardening or fishing or snow skiing, or we're going to hit play on an app. I don't care what app, Headspace, Calm, 10% Happier. I'll tell you my favorite meditation app is called the Insight Timer, simply because it downloads for $0 and has 70,000 meditations on it. Does anyone have that app? You? It's great, isn't it? Do you use it? Sometimes?
Not regular.
Yeah. Guys, I like it because there's 1-minute meditations on there to help you just focus up before you step into a sales meeting. There's 2.5-hour meditations to help you fall asleep. I dare you to hear the end of one. I dare you. The average listener is 7 minutes on those. At 70,000 things you can do, included guided prayer, nature sounds, birds chirping, ocean waves, you name it. There's meditations on it for everyone. Hit play with your eyes closed, and then open your eyes when the thing is done. Who's read Atomic Habits? Okay, 2. The rest of you, this is mandatory reading for an executive role. Atomic Habits is one of the best books you'll ever read, is it not?
I just finished it. Yes, it's quite hard.
He talks about stacking habits. I'm going to use the word tethering. It's the same principle. If you are trying a new habit and you know you might fail, we are going to non-negotiably tether it to something you're already doing. Okay? And I like this because how often do you have to brush your teeth, you guys? Just once a month? Every day. Sometimes twice a day. Every day you brush your teeth. Otherwise, things go horribly wrong. You lose friends, right? You lose deals. So we're going to do the same thing with meditation. You're not allowed to pick up your toothbrush at all until you've done at least 10 minutes of meditation. Just put them together. They're non-negotiable. Tomorrow morning, you can't brush your teeth unless you've done 10 minutes of this. That's great. Then before bed, if you're going to brush your teeth again, meditate again. If we tether these together, we're always more successful. That's how food and exercise work outside. You guys know that, right? She's done some tethering out there. It's exercise, then eat. We don't have to do any of that. We don't have to meditate. So sometimes we have to be a little hard on ourselves and hold ourselves to a little bit higher standard. This is mandatory. If you want to be operating in this society, I want a bunch of nicer people, and well-meditated people are better than well-medicated people. I'll tell you that right now. Questions on that? Is that fair? That's not too much to ask, right? It is pretty easy. If you do go hiking ever, it is your natural state. Kind of calm, kind of relaxed.
Serious question. What do you do with your dogs when you do your morning meditation?
Yeah, I have a sauna and I'm in there. They don't come in because it's too hot. So they just hang out.
Yeah.
They usually lay right outside the sauna. We have 2 German shepherds. So one of them is only, he'll be a year old in June. So he's just about a year old. So he's a little rambunctious
Good
still,
idea.
but
Create a space in the house. for
Yeah.
that.
we do all of our meditation in the sauna. That giant hot box, they don't want anything to do with that thing. So it's great.
Question for you.
Yes, sir.
On the meditation, do you need in your mind to be stationary? In my car, when I drive home, I turn the radio off, try to turn the phone off, and I'm just in the car, just in the moment.
I love it. That's perfect. That's called active meditation. It's a form of road hypnosis combined with just pay attention.
Usually
don't-
I'm going slow in traffic, but I
Yeah.
just try to turn everything off, even put the windows down, the fresh air coming in. it just-
100%. Yep. Your measurement for this, by the way, is did you lose track of time? Did that drive feel like, oh, that was great. Oh my God, I'm home already? Or was it like painful and arduous the whole time where you like hated it? If that's the case, then you weren't meditating. But if it's like, oh my God, I'm home, I can't believe it. That went so fast, that was meditation. Because that's the sophisticated human measurement for did you meditate, is did you lose track of time? Okay, if you go downhill skiing, what are you thinking about on the way down? If there's a mantra to be chanted at all, it's don't die, don't die, don't die, right? That's my mantra anyway, I suck at skiing. So I met an 82-year-old Vistage member 3 years ago who snowboards out of helicopters. Yeah, okay, if you know anything about snowboarding, first of all, he's 82 and he snowboards, so he picked that up probably in his 60s because it hasn't been around that long. And then he's still hella dropping out of, I mean, that's just insane to me. So for him, that's meditation. For me, that would be scary. So one person's meditation is not the other person's. You just have to, what do you do that makes time go away? Some people is driving. When I had my motorcycle, that's what it was for me. Just hang on to that thing and don't tip over. And that was meditation every time I got on that bike. Yeah. Cool. Any more questions? My goal when I leave is that you have a lot of tools that you can grab whenever you're ready. Stress isn't normal, you guys. If you're having stress, let's go to the toolbox and pick something to get rid of it. Okay. I like this one the best. Who can help? Okay. That's my favorite thing. And then education. Oh my gosh, that is it's underplayed in our society how much education can change our response to things. So please, 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 if you think money might be a problem in your organization for a lot of your employees, let's do a Friday afternoon class together. It's 2 hours. We're going to teach a Dave Ramsey financial literacy worksheet. It's 3 pages, interactive, takes 2 hours to teach. It changes people's perspective on money because they get to know how finances at home are. I've had people start crying during this course because they finally figured out why their credit card debt keeps getting higher. It's amazing. Let's do a quick 10-minute break if you guys are good with that. Can we synchronize our watches? We're gonna do a bank heist so that we're not back in 14 minutes. We're back in 10. I got 2:18 when we're back. Is that cool?
Who volunteered to be the break enforcer, Jake?
Wayne, good at it.
Wayne, good. Are you sure?
You're the advertiser.
I know, stop it. How about that?
I got it, I'll take it.
Okay.
Jake just took it.
You did, or you can have a paper there.
Oh, yep, totally fine. I'll be good.
I keep my credit card.
Thank you.
Just try to.
Like,
Oh, wait a
do
second, we got a minute and 50 seconds left.
you want to wait?
No, not really.
Do we have no?
Howard
You want to do a meditation?
did.
Guys, I have Vistage groups that meet
I
now.
will say we have 2 people online who are not back.
Okay, should we give them a minute?
Yes, please.
I got 1 minute. Start, because there's a quiz. You guys can study for the quiz if you want
What was
to.
the name of that book that you said? was
Atomic Habits.
Atomic Habits.
Yeah,
Forget the author's name. Great book.
It is.
Who is it?
I listened to it on Audible, so.
Yeah, I forget his name all the time.
I listened to it last week, actually.
You guys, should I assign your next reading assignment? You ready for a really cool one?
Yeah.
The Comfort Crisis by Michael Easter. I've read 200 books in the last 2 years. That's my favorite one in 2 years. The Comfort Crisis by Michael Easter. And what he points out is that you're always comfortable. And if you don't do something hard, then the hangnail is gonna be the worst thing that ever happened to you today, and then you're gonna complain and whine about it. Because the worst thing that ever happened to you is the worst thing that ever happened to you, right? And for a lot of people, it's traffic, or the barista is screwing up their coffee order. But if you go do something really hard, then all of that stuff is kind of, who cares? Deal. So what, there's some traffic.
You know what David Goggins said?
Yes,
Do one thing that sucks every day.
yeah. David Goggins is a different breed of human, right? He's got some demons he's fighting, that's why.
All right, they're back.
All right, how many hours of sleep should you get per night? Answer somewhere on the board. Anyone have any guesses?
7.
Somewhere between 7 and 9. Look at that, it's right there with an average of? Do we all agree? Yes, we all know this, but how many of us are actually doing it? 65% of you got less than 8 hours last night. Raise your hand if you got less than 8. 3. Everyone else is okay, so not quite 65 in this room, but that's the average for your employees. It's a lot, you guys. It's a problem. This number is going to be different every day. Okay, depending on what you do today. What you do today is going to affect how much sleep you need, and it's going to affect how much sleep you get. How many of you have ever spent the day on the boat and then you slept like a rock that night? You didn't do anything on the boat, you just hung out outside. Okay, now contrast that with a day where you never left the bed and you just ate Cheetos and watched Netflix all day and then you couldn't sleep at all. So a lot of our daytime patterns really do matter because daytime hormones and nighttime hormones are tied together in an infinite loop based on where the star is at. This is driven by circadian patterns. Circadian patterns are driven by the fact that you are on a round ball that spins in space. Do we all agree it's a round ball? Okay. It spins. When you're on the dark side, get some sleep. Because when it spins back around, you got people to make and food to eat. You guys all know those are your only 2 biological imperatives, right? Am I surprising you all here? You have 2 boxes to check every day. And once you've checked those 2 boxes, take a nap. Okay, this is why you don't see lions doing CrossFit. You have 2 biological imperatives. Box number 1, make new lions. If you're a lion, make new people if you're a human. Box number 2, eat enough food so you can do the first one. Once you've accomplished both of those tasks, chill out. You've done it all, right? Conserve your energy, you might get attacked later. So just so you know, if you don't realize this, you're so lazy once you've eaten and once you've done that first box. So maybe we'll talk about exercise. Let's get back to this. You need some rest so you can go do it. You're going to sleep in 90-minute cycles. Guys, the first organ to suffer if you don't do this is the big 3-pound sponge in your head. Well, why biologically would it make sense that you, made of tasty, delicious meat, would be unconscious for a third of your life? That makes no sense whatsoever, except if something's got to heal and repair. And it turns out that the brain is the thing that this is all about. Stages of sleep, you got light sleep at the top, REM sleep in the middle, and deep sleep at the bottom. You can track it. They look like little waves. They're about 90-minute cycles from wave to wave. Okay, so about every hour and a half, you're kind of awake. You might even come fully awake there. You guys ever do that? Every single morning at 3 a.m., you see the clock, and why is that? Because you're in a pattern. That's how that works. Deep sleep is at the bottom. This is where all the healing happens. You are fully paralyzed in deep sleep. No movement is available to you. The body paralyzes the entire machine. No eye movement, no nothing. It takes all that extra energy and uses it for cellular repair, cleaning out metabolic waste, forming permanent memories, and clearing amyloid beta plaque from the brain. I'm going to say that slower. If you want a good functioning brain as you age, make sure you're getting good deep sleep right now today, because all of that matters. This should be 15 to 20% of your night. If it's less than 15, you're going to need closer to 9 hours. If it's 48% of your sleep, like one of my clients, he gets 6 hours of sleep because he gets 48% deep sleep every night on average. It's insane to me how this guy sleeps. He doesn't need 9 hours. He doesn't even need 7. You can test in your DNA for something called DEC2. If you have that gene code from mom and dad, congratulations, you can get 6 hours of sleep and not wreck your health. If you don't, and you're short sleeping, it's going to have an effect on the brain. How's that sound? So let's just focus on how to get better deep sleep. Your circadian patterns are going to follow the sun, but you don't live outside, you live in a cage. So some of the stuff we're doing in the cage actually hurts us. The #1 sleep disruptor in the country is at the back of the room. It's a psychoactive substance that we give to children. Do you guys know what it is? Can you imagine if we gave kids psychoactive drugs? Because we do. what that would do to them and how that would change them? Do you know the number one psychoactive substance fed to children is caffeine? And they put it in soda because it makes the soda taste better, it makes people want to buy it more. Caffeine is a psychoactive substance. If you've never purged off of caffeine and then had a quad espresso, I'm going to show you the walls breathing. You will, I'm not joking, there's a pre-workout you can get right now that'll just tip your world to the other side. You're going to be like, what is going on? That's how psychoactive caffeine is. But we use it in tiny little amounts all day, all the time. If that was cocaine, we'd have a problem, but it's acceptable, so we don't even think about it. Guys, caffeine represses adenosine. Adenosine is one of those, hey, you should go to bed hormones that your body produces throughout the day. Caffeine pushes it down and then stimulates us. So nothing wrong with caffeine, except for what happens with the half-life of that drug. You guys realize the half-life of caffeine is about 8 hours. Chemists in here? Scientists? Half-life means half of it's gone in 8 hours. So I'm going to just flip a page real quick. I'm going to draw this out. I'm going to go to Starbucks at 7 in the morning. What am I going to get? What's our Starbucks orders? Somebody tell me. What do you get?
Iced coffee with the fat, coat, sugar, and the raw cat.
Just iced coffee. What else? Anyone? Triple espresso, Trenti frappuccinos.
I'll get the venti coffee with 2 extra shots.
There you go. So there, that's the guys, the average. Wow. So
That's what I get.
hey, you're doing it right. Let me tell you, the average Starbucks order has about 150 milligrams of caffeine. Okay, this isn't out of line as 3 cups of regular coffee. It's not that big a deal. Okay, but that's the average. It's a Trenti frappuccino is what most people will get there. So 150 milligrams of caffeine at 7 a.m., 8 hours later, half it's still there. 8 hours later, half of that's still there. 8 hours later, oh, that takes me back to tomorrow morning. Half of that's still there. And so if its half-life is 8, at 3 p.m., I'm dealing with a cup and a half of coffee. At 11 o'clock at night, I'm dealing with 3/4 of a cup of coffee from my morning drink, not the afternoon one that I had to drink because I started getting tired. Tomorrow morning, I still have caffeine left over from today that I add to my 150, so I start my day with 168. And that just keeps going and going and going. And then you can't sleep, and you're wondering why. It's because there's always drugs in your body. That's the number one reason people can't sleep is because they never take a day off from caffeine. So here are some new rules. I'm not saying never drink caffeine. I'm saying we're going to follow some simple and easy rules, and then we'll get better at caffeine. Okay, you ready? Rule number 1. Drink water for your first hour and water only. So the first hour while you're awake, the only beverage that can go in your body is water. You will have tons more energy than if you put caffeine in there because caffeine pulls water out of the cells, and that's not a good thing when you're dehydrated at night. Rule number 2, we're going to stop all caffeine at lunch, so no more caffeine after the noon hour. And rule number 3 is the same rule we use with any drugs. Look, if one of you said, Dan, I want to try microdosing psilocybin, or I'm experimenting with some THC, what should I do? I'm going to give you the same advice I give anyone for any drug. 5 days out of 7, no more. You are not allowed to use a drug every day, or it can create dependency. What does 5 days out of 7 mean for caffeine? Take Sundays and Wednesdays off. Easy. Switch to decaf on Sundays and Wednesdays. You'll never know the difference, especially if you're drinking a liter of water in the first hour. You'll have enough energy. You won't need the coffee. You still get decaf, though, if you want to go with the Swiss water decaf coffee. You still get the taste and the flavor and the texture, just no caffeine. That way, it doesn't affect your sleep. Because 30 years of this, you're not going to sleep well, even if you're trying. You guys, there's a radical difference between sleeping and passing out. Okay? I used to have a Bill Cosby joke there. Nobody laughed. When can I bring that back? Do I have to wait 2 decades, or is it never? So first things first, no more caffeine on Sundays. And then let's try to get it out on Wednesdays as well. Watch what happens. You do this experiment yourself, try it for 30 days. Tell me if it doesn't have a good effect on your sleep. Okay, rule number 2 is we're going to stop repressing sleepy time hormones because of the light spectrum that we're in. Guys, if you're outside, you don't get blue light at night, ever. It doesn't exist. Blue light does not exist in nature at night. Just doesn't. The only light you'll ever find in nature at night is the campfire, and you're the one that lit it. What color is a campfire? Red, orange, or yellow. Heat signatures are red, orange, and yellow. What color were light bulbs in the 1940s in your home? How did we create the light in your house in the 1940s? Those incandescent bulbs created light through what? Heating a filament. Heat light is always red, orange, or yellow unless you're burning a gas at high temperatures. Then you'll get a little bit of blue. Incandescent bulbs were red, orange, or yellow. Before that, candles, red, orange, or yellow. Before that, fire, red, orange, or yellow. Now today, all lights are compact fluorescent or LED, which include red, orange, and yellow, but also have the blues and the indigos and the violets in them. Because if your light bulbs in your house aren't 2700 or lower, you've got blue spectrum in your light, and that's killing your ability to produce melatonin and adenosine, and you're not going to sleep well. So rule number 2, in addition to watching your caffeine intake, is absolutely positively no blue light for at least an hour before your head hits the pillow. If you can get 2 hours, you'll do even better. We know this with kids. How many of you raised kids and said right before bed, I want you on your iPad? Or was it a nighttime ritual that involved a bath, brushing your teeth, and then story time from the tattooed skin of a dead tree? You guys remember those books? We need to bring those back. You read a book and you have a heat source providing the light. That's how we wind down before bed. We do that as kids, but then we lose that as adults. And I hear people say, oh, I can't fall asleep without the TV on. Yeah, because you're addicted to the TV. And it brings tribal support and some entertainment to you, and then you could finally relax enough. The blue light's killing us. So the solution's easy. As 1 hour before bed, just stop with the light. Make sure you're thinking campfire. If it's dark outside, it should be campfire in your house. Philips has a solution for light bulbs. You guys, have you seen the Hue light bulb? Program it to follow the sun. Your app on your phone programs the light bulb to follow the sun. When you come home at night, that will be an orangish color. If you come home during the day, that'll be full spectrum light, so you can clean the corners of the kitchen. You can put those all over your house and control them all with a single app if you want to. I like that way you still get your LED, but it's controllable. How fun. Okay, who's ever fallen asleep in somebody's basement bedroom that doesn't have windows? It's the cabin, you're in the basement, there's no windows. Who's done that? Literally, you wake up like 4 months later. Like, oh my God, who's president? Wait, what? What happened while I was asleep? That works. That basement bedroom works because it has the exact things you need to fall asleep and stay there. There's 2 triggers you have to pull on a nightly basis to turn daytime hormones into nighttime hormones. And those 2 triggers happen when the sun goes away outside. We need to mimic that in the cage. Okay? Those 2 triggers are the absence of light, which means darkness. The darker your bedroom, the deeper your sleep. And the absence of heat, which means cold. And I will tell you right now, anyone that's ever fallen asleep in a dark, cold bedroom will tell you you sleep better. How many of you want to do that to your bedroom, though? A lot of people are like, oh, I don't want it that cold. Make it that cold. You guys, it should be kind of uncomfortable to get out from under the covers. Okay? So what Dr. Matt Walker will tell you, Dr. Matt Walker is my favorite sleep scientist. Who's yours? Yeah, see, the best thing you can say is also Dr. Matt Walker. Then I'll be like, oh my God, do you know him? I'm just agreeing. His book, Why We Sleep, is one of the best books you'll ever read on sleeping. So if somebody in your house sucks in sleeping, let's buy Why We Sleep. He'll tell you 5 to 10 degrees cooler than what you experience most of your day will get you powerful sleep. And that's why being on the boat all day gets you better sleep when you come into the cage, because when you're on the boat all day, it's what, 90, 95? And then you come into the cage, it's always 70 and soft. It's a 25-degree drop. It's amazing. You guys realize it's always 70 and soft, don't you? How awesome is this place? I love it. It's 70. It's even soft to stand on this stuff. It's just incredible. So we need a little bit of cold for our body to go, oh, it's nighttime, and start producing those nighttime hormones. Now, if you suck at mornings, or if you have kids in your life that suck at mornings, reverse these 2, and that's how we wake a human up. The fastest way to wake a human up is heat. Second fastest is light, and then we use sound. So if you want a really awesome alarm clock, Philips makes a sunrise alarm clock that you put on your nightstand that wakes you up with the sun and some birds chirping. Instead of this thing, which doesn't know where you're at in your sleep patterns and will pull you out right here if it has to. So that's only fully paralyzed. Fun place to wake up. Who's ever had that happen? And the whole day sucks just because of how you woke up. I don't care if you get 9 hours of sleep. If I wake you up down here, you're going to hate my guts and the rest of the day is going to suck. I can give you 5 hours of sleep and you'll wake up feeling more refreshed if I wake you up gently with heat and light. So who argues about the temperature of the bed in here with their partner?
Yeah.
I know at least one. Okay, I heard it.
Argue implies I have a
Yeah, okay, so it's not a ringer. Here's how we solve this without lawyers. Ready? We go to Amazon, we type in the word chili pad. This is one of my favorite tools, you guys. They just came out with their brand new version this year. The chili pad is an ultra thin layer of water that goes underneath your bottom sheet. It can cool you down to 45 degrees or heat you up to 100, and you can set it on a curve. What time do you usually get up? Most mornings. 6. So at 5:30, your bed will start heating you up to 80 degrees. Guess who's gonna wake up without any kind of alarm? Because it's 80 degrees on his side of the bed, dual zone climate control, so you never have to fight about the temperature again. I love that tool, you guys. That is a marriage saver. And I've had Vistage members who are going through menopause that told me it saved their life already. So it's really great if I can cool you down when you're having hot flashes. And if it doesn't affect his sleep because they don't have to get him as cold, it just works for everybody that way. So maybe look at a tool like that. Combine that with the Hue light bulb. If you have this in your bedroom, you can program it to turn on in an orange spectrum of light before your alarm goes off. Look at that, it's easy. Or just go put a tent in your backyard and it all works itself out. Yeah, she's got it all figured out already.
What about sleep cycle alarms or watches?
Yeah, I love the Sleep Cycle app because it listens to you sleeping all night long, just like the NSA does. And it'll find you in light sleep because of your movement patterns, and it'll wake you up in light sleep within a half an hour range. So the Sleep Cycle alarm clock does a nice job of that. I'm wearing the Ring to track my sleep, but it does nothing to help wake me up in a certain pattern. So have you guys seen the Rings? This is tracking my sleep, my movement, my heart rate variability, my calories burned, and my skin temperature. This thing knows if I have a fever before I have a fever. It's amazing. This is called the Oura, O-U-R-A. And look, here's how the world works, right? Doctors measure the output. Get on the scale, that's an output measurement. Blood pressure, that's an output measurement. The Ring helps me measure my inputs, my movement, my sleep, my calories burned. Those are inputs. Those are my job. This helps me measure those. And then I get a graph and see how I do. Guys, I couldn't figure out for the longest time why I didn't get good deep sleep. I thought, okay, it's the alcohol. I'll leave a little bit more of that out. Oh, it's the caffeine. I'll leave that out completely. Still didn't get good deep sleep. Then I got my DNA test back. Oh, that's why I don't get good deep sleep. I have genetic anomalies that don't allow it. So I flushed some stuff out by doing some of the output tests as well, but I like the Rings or the Fitbit or the Apple Watch to measure some of this stuff.
I know my son is not sleeping 12 hours, but he's not back from college. And
Yeah.
I noticed that sometimes he'll go upstairs at 10 o'clock at night and I come down at 10, 11 o'clock in the morning. Is there a detriment, maybe it's too strong a word, of having to spend too much time in bed? If not if it's all asleep, but still spending up to 12 hours in his room?
Yeah, I don't think so, as long as we're watching what's happening with mental health. So if it's not short sleeping all week and then trying to catch all up on the weekends, that's a detriment. And those studies have been done in children to show that that's a huge detriment to mental health. But I'll tell you what, right now, you guys, when you're in your teens and 20s, you need way more sleep than you do when you're in your 40s, because your brain is growing, your muscles are growing. For boys, all kinds of things are still growing until they're 25, especially that prefrontal cortex. And that's going to require a lot more energy and a lot more of this stuff than it will when we're in our 50s. Not saying that you need less sleep as you age. That is not true, but you need more sleep when you're younger beyond this. So I say for kids that are going through that, just let them go as long as they've got, I would still track that even at that age, just to make sure they're getting good deep sleep. I don't think it's a big deal at all, unless they're staying in their room because they don't want to go deal with people. Then there's some sort of maybe social anxiety that's going on or something else that we might need to look at. But my kids, when they were in their teens and 20s, slept for 10 or 12 hours a day, and they turned out great, relatively great. Yeah, not as driven as I'd like them to be, but I don't see a problem with it. Matt Walker talks about a lot of that in his book. Why We Sleep is the title. He talks a lot about the teenagers and sleep needs. You guys, do you know why you do so well when you're outside and then you come back into the cage, and why you do so well with sleep? It's because when you take your little meat suit outside to where the star is shining, that starlight on the outside of your spacesuit will give you a hormone that helps you make serotonin. And the more serotonin you make, the better you're going to sleep, because serotonin and melatonin are intimately connected when you pull these two triggers. So when you get into a dark, cold room with plenty of serotonin, you're going to sleep better and have more melatonin. That's why people that have depressive disorders also have sleep disorders that go with them, because serotonin and melatonin are connected. So what is the magic mystical hormone I get when I go outside with my meat suit and get starlight on the outside of it? Do you guys know what that hormone is called? What if I call it a vitamin? Then everyone knows it. Right, but vitamins aren't made by humans, they're eaten. Hormones are made. So the hormone is vitamin D if you make it yourself. The vitamin is vitamin D if you eat the fish that have it in their bodies. Okay, so what I'm going to ask you for is go get some vitamin D, because that's going to be necessary for you to make serotonin. You only get 5 building blocks to make serotonin. Do you guys know what they are? Vitamin D, magnesium, tryptophan. Those are the big 3 that people are missing. We're a grain-rich society with almost no tryptophan. If you guys aren't eating meat, you're probably going to have some problems with depression or anxiety or sleep, because tryptophan is a necessary amino acid for you to make serotonin. And magnesium, we eat so few vegetables, there's almost no magnesium in our diet. So check your tryptophan intake and your magnesium intake, and then see what you're doing with vitamin D. That's a blood test. Vitamin D should be up over 60 nanograms per milliliter. If you're not over 60, get it up there with supplementation or more time in the sun. 10 minutes of direct sunlight in Southern California at noon, fully naked, gets you arrested. I have stories. But it also gets you all the vitamin D you could ever use for the day. All you need is 10 minutes at noon. But we don't live in Southern California. I don't for sure. I live in Minnesota. I don't know why I'm still there. Probably because Penelope has a real estate business and she doesn't want to move yet. But the sunlight's essential. If you can't get 10 minutes, let's try to get 10 minutes anyway. I don't care what the weather's like, go outside. Show as much skin as you can show. You're probably not going to go out naked, let's face it. But show as much skin as you are willing and able to show that day. Today at lunch would have been nice to get you outside for a little walk because this thing needs it. Okay, if not, let's do it again tomorrow. 20 minutes if you have really dark skin. Okay, 10 to 20 minutes. He's going to need way more time outside in the sun than I am. Look at how dark his skin is. I can guess where his ancestors are from the darkness of the skin, right? If you saw Penelope, my wife is a lobster. Do you guys know any lobsters? She's white or red. That's it. There's no color in between. You can guess where she's probably from. I can guess where your ancestors' ancestors are probably from based on our skin, because the more sun we get, the more melanin we produce, and then we need even more time outside to get vitamin D. That's one of the most essential tests you could ever ask your doctor for is, what's my vitamin D level? Because if it's not 60 or higher, plan on not being as happy as you could be, and plan on your immune system not being as awesome as it could be, because the #1 role of vitamin D in the human body is immune modulation. If we look at when does seasonal affective disorder happen in northern climates, when is that? In the winter. When does flu season happen in northern climates? They just happen to overlap, because the lack of vitamin D and the lack of fresh air is going to have a huge impact on what our body does when it meets a virus. I don't care what virus it is, pick one. Could be influenza, it could be a coronavirus, it could be Ebola. The higher your vitamin D, the better off you're going to do when you face a virus. So get your levels up over 60. That's my advice. I have some skin cancer data that supports that. Get it up over 60. If you can't do that out in the sun, let's get a supplement on board to do that for you. Is that fair? Guys, can I show you one other thing, how the world works? I love these little lessons because we forget some stuff because we do live in this beautiful soft cage. But let me show you how the world works. If we go to the Costa Rican jungle, what kind of sun are we going to get? Who's been to Costa Rica? It's always sunny. It should be it's always sunny in Costa Rica, not Philadelphia, but it's always sunny. Lots of sun. What's the primary diet in the Costa Rican jungle? Fruit, maybe some nuts and seeds. That's the primary diet. Why fruit? Because they're everywhere. Ready? You guys ready to take a note? You're going to want to write this down. You eat plenty of plants when plants are available, because plants are incredibly easy to sneak up on. And you suck and you're slow. Remember that when you go out there. If there's plants, I'm going to eat those. They're right there. Okay. Now, a high plant diet, we call these carbohydrates when we start talking about carbs in your diet. So when somebody says, I don't eat carbs, and they're chewing on an apple, you can shove that apple straight into their mouth or knock it out of their hand. They're eating a carb, okay? All plants are carbohydrates. Wooden tables are made of carbohydrates with so much fiber you can't eat them, okay? That's how that works. All plants are carbs, okay? Now, what kind of meat are we going to find in the Costa Rican jungle? Lean or fatty? All lean meats. So our diet will be naturally, without anyone telling us to do, It'll be a high fat, or a low fat, high carbohydrate diet with plenty of sun. Now, if I were to take the same person that lives in Costa Rica and move them to northern Iceland, do they get to eat a Costa Rican diet in northern Iceland? That's gonna be weird, right? There's no fruit in northern Iceland, is there? What are they eating up there? Low sun, by the way, 300 days of clouds a year. What are they eating?
Fish.
Kind of fish, fatty or lean? Fatty fish, whale, caribou, seal, high fat, very low carb. Guess where vitamin D is when it's not coming from the sun? Nature put it right there in the fat of the animals you would eat when there is no sun. So now we get it from Walgreens or Amazon. Guys, fat in your diet when there's no sun is where we used to get vitamin D before we had grocery stores to get it from. And nature took care of all of our animals. That way it's all in perfect balance. It's 4 billion years of math right there. So if we're not changing our diet seasonally to match what's going on outside, then maybe we start doing that. Here, it's a little bit better because you guys are far enough south that you get a little bit more of that. A little bit more plants in the winter time. I don't get that opportunity in Minnesota. So just watch your diet, supplement where you might be missing stuff. If you're not eating enough fat in your diet, especially in the winter, if you're not going outside enough, put some supplements in your body to take care of that. That's email 2 if you want to know what I put in my body. That's the second email that Brian's going to get. So it's and exactly where I buy them with a link right to Amazon in most cases. So, questions on that? Should we do water next? This is an easy discussion. This is what you're allowed to drink when you go out there. That's the only beverage you'll ever get. There's no liquid sugar out in nature. You guys all know that? Okay, I want somebody to try to think of a drinkable sugar for humans in nature while I talk. It's not honey, that's in a hive, you're gonna chew that. And it's not maple syrup, that comes out as water. Okay, so water should be your primary beverage. If you add up all the stuff you're drinking today, it should be 90+% of what you drink should be water. That's the way it would work out there. Okay, the physicians and the public health people I've talked to in Peru, India, and Europe all say 3 liters a day should be your average intake as an adult of water. And if we add up most people's drinks, it's probably close to 2 to 3 liters anyway. It's just not water. So make water your primary beverage. Try to get about 3 liters. It's 100 ounces if you're keeping score in the non-metric system. So about 100 ounces of water a day. It's not that big a deal. It's 6 of those, maybe 7. Guys, if you start with 2 of those first thing in the morning, you're a third of the way there. Let's get going. It's not that tough. Okay? Sweat more and you'll drink more water. That's a really great way to do this. Okay? We already talked about caffeine's impact. There are 5 things that we typically put in our water that tend to dehydrate us or don't do a really good job at hydrating us anyway. So let's just do this. It counts as water if it doesn't have these 5. Okay? Alcohol, caffeine, sugar, those are the big 3. If you got all 3 of those in your morning coffee, you're doing it wrong. Alcohol in your morning coffee. You guys ever fly at 6 a.m. on a Monday and watch how many people start drinking first thing in the morning, especially in first class? It's insane to me. It's insane to me. I watched a guy drink 3 double Jack and Cokes. I used to take the commuter flight from Bismarck, North Dakota to Minneapolis every Monday morning because I lived in Bismarck, and to get anywhere in the world, you either went to Minneapolis or Denver, and United sucked, so I'd always fly to Minneapolis with Delta. Every single Monday morning, I'd see the same guys on the same flight going over to Minneapolis. And inevitably, there were 2 or 3 of them, double Jack and Cokes at 6 in the morning. You guys, it's a 45-minute flight, man, 2 to 3 of those. Yeah, if alcohol, caffeine, and sugar are in your drink, it's not going to work so well at hydrating you. Salt, you don't need a whole bunch of salt in your diet if you're not sweating, so maybe cut back on that salt in your beverage. We don't need Propel when we haven't been sweating. And then make sure you watch your diet soda intake. If it was me, I would eliminate diet sodas completely because those toxic, neurotoxic sweeteners, those synthetic things that we're making in the laboratory aren't doing us any favors. Dale Bredesen writes about that in his Alzheimer's book, and I think it's fascinating to see how the diet sodas affect the brain. So if those 5 things aren't present, let's say I have a Swiss water decaf coffee, good to go. Put some cream in there if I don't like the flavor, done. He's using a little bit of sugar, 1 little packet. Look, if your sugar intake is not exceeding 10 grams of liquid sugar a day, you're probably okay. If it's exceeding 10 grams of liquid sugar a day, plan on it hurting your pancreas and your liver. Right, your threshold is about 10 grams a day of liquid sugar. And if I were to go to Starbucks and grab their Trenti Frappuccinos, I don't care if you put a triple shot in there, it's when we're putting 5 pumps of vanilla in there. Their average drink at Starbucks has 70. It's birthday cake in a cup, no wonder we want more of it. If I said liquid birthday cake, you'd be like, bring it on, is it my birthday? Put some alcohol in there, we're good to go. The average soda is 50 to 60, and the juice that we were told is healthy for our kids is like 30 to 40 grams of sugar in one drink, and somebody said the kids need this. It's healthy for them. Yes, it's killing the pancreas. You ever eat 6 oranges? Who's ever eaten 6 oranges in one sitting on purpose? Not as a challenge to see if you're gonna not use the bathroom later today, but like that's how many oranges are in the average orange juice. We give that to kids with no fiber, no chewing, nothing to slow it down. And we say, yeah, this is healthy. Guys, oranges are healthy. Orange juice is one of the worst things you can do for your pancreas because this thing and my liver has no idea if it's soda or juice. It just knows, oh my God, here comes the sugar, and it all comes all at once. So if it's bigger than 10 grams of liquid sugar, I would cut that back or eliminate it. I deal with a lot of companies looking to introduce workplace wellness programs in, as this is one of the hard lines I draw. If you want to do a workplace wellness program, soda machines gotta leave. All they're doing is killing people. There is no healthy soda. Oh, it's just one a day. Yep. And that's where diabetes and Alzheimer's and all these diseases are coming from. It's because it's just one a day and then it's 2 a day. Then it's 3 a day and then it's more than we're drinking water. Let's just draw a hard line and stop. Get a kombucha or put 1 packet of sugar in your coffee and add a little bit more cream in there. The cream's not going to hurt you. I was one of those guys that put butter in his coffee for forever and people laugh at him. Well, like it's half and half without the sugary half. Like, why is that a big deal? It's still just fat. So, is that fair? Do you guys know how important chewing is? Right, that you have to chew your food, and then when you chew, you create saliva, and in your saliva, you have an enzyme called amylase. Do you guys remember that from 7th grade science? Amylase has one function, that's break down sugar. So the more nature gave you sugar, the more she made you chew, and she's been doing this math since the beginning of us. So what do we make table sugar out of? What 2 plants do we use to make table sugar? Sugar cane. Have you guys ever had sugar cane in your mouth? If you get the opportunity to buy sugar cane sometime, how much do you have to chew that? It's like nonstop, and there's so much fiber you can't even eat it. So that's what happens when she gave you tons of fiber. The other plant we use is sugar beets. Have you ever had a beet in your mouth? Just take a huge bite out of a beet right out of the garden. It doesn't matter if it's a sugar beet or a red beet. There's a ton of sugar in beets, but there's also a boatload of fiber, a boatload of chewing. That's going to cause you to slow down, and that's going to cause you to create amylase in your saliva, which is going to help the breakdown. If you drink past that mechanism, your liver and your pancreas are going to have extra work to do. And they can only do that so long before they finally like, sorry, I can't help you anymore. The diseases that manifest from this are non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, diabetes, and Alzheimer's.
So this might be a silly question. I've done juicing on several occasions. It sounds like juicing is actually not what you want to do.
I wouldn't. Eat the vegetables. Way better that way. Absolutely way. It's so out of natural context to throw away all the fiber. It doesn't even make sense. So you can blend, at least you're leaving the fiber in, but now you're drinking without the chewing. So I would at least add some fat or protein if I blended it up. So if I made a smoothie, put some fat and protein in there to slow that down a little bit because we're not chewing it. Do you guys know how many carrots you can get a thing? Carrot, when we juice it, do you know how many carrots can go in? You've done it, you've juiced. You can like put a pound of carrots in there and just get a little bit of juice like this and drink that whole thing. Would you ever eat a pound of carrots in one sitting? There's the answer, right? It's weird. We're going to talk a lot about carrots, guys, because chewing really does matter because of how fast it can go in. Granted, you get a lot more nutrients that way, but man, I can take a 1-a-day vitamin that has less of a glycemic impact than just juicing. So I don't think it's a good idea. Questions yet? Questions on why food is so hard? Because you're lazy and there's always food? Is that why? You've been told to be successful at your diet, you have to do 3 things that you're not programmed to do. And when you fail at those 3 things, it's your fault. You're told to count calories, measure portions, and exercise moderation. Good luck if I bring you ice cream and french fries to do any of those things. How are you going to do if I bring you pizza every day and say, exercise moderation, dude, come on. No, you're gonna fail. And then when you fail, I'm gonna make you feel guilty for not having willpower. Do you know how hard that would be if that was a dog? You would think that's just the dumbest thing ever if we did that to a dog, but we do it to humans and think it's normal. Look, here's the deal, guys. There's no bad food. Not when people are starving to death. There's just food that's not gonna help you regulate caloric consumption. So stay away from those foods most of the time. And when it's time to eat them all. Right? Does pizza help regulate caloric consumption? How many of you have accidentally eaten a large pizza by yourself? Accidentally. Right? And then feel bad about it. 4 donuts is 2,000 calories, you guys. That's just a warm up for me if it's donut day. Right? 2,000 calories. I'm just getting started. I'll eat 8. Look the other way. I'm going to eat 8 donuts. Penelope's like, ew. I'm like, I know. I'm a professional. It's donuts. You guys ever eat Captain Crunch because you hate the roof of your mouth and then finish the whole box? You guys, the whole box is mine. I don't even share a bowl with Penelope. She's got to get her own box of cereal. I'm not sharing when it's cereal day. How often do you think I do that stuff? Often enough to keep a good emotional relationship with those foods because I don't ever want to feel guilty. And I don't ever want to walk around and go, I can't have that. I get to do whatever I want to. I'm an adult. I can have cake for breakfast every morning. I mean, we call those muffins now because they are birthday cake without the frosting. You guys know that, right? How about we do this? Knowing that some foods don't regulate calories for us and others do, what if we just stick with foods that regulate caloric consumption for us and eat those 98% of the time, and the rest of the time we go have fun with food? Because you do suck at moderation, and if you bring these foods home, you're going to eat them all the time. How many of you guys have had ice cream in the freezer and you know you're going to save that for the weekend and then you're eating it on Tuesday because Tuesday sucked? That's just how this works. So we bring home the following foods. Hundreds of thousands of variations. You guys ready? We bring home the slow foods that we can catch really easy. What are those called again? Plants. Plants come in 5 categories, and every single one of these will regulate calories for you. I dare you to eat 2,000 calories of carrots in one sitting. Because, okay, he doesn't like carrots, but it's 10.5 pounds. How about raspberries? I want to watch you eat 2,000 calories of raspberries. It's 9¼ pounds of food. There is no way to do that in one sitting. It'll look like a crime scene in your kitchen before you finish. And in your bathroom, because that much fiber is going to wreck some stuff, and you're not going to work tomorrow. And now I had a guy send me a video trying to do that with carrots, not from the output, but from the input side. An hour and a half of him eating carrots sped up in a video, and it's hilarious to watch. He was almost hospitalized because his jaw started to lock up. It only took an hour and a half for carrots to try to kill this guy. You can't eat carrots for an hour and a half. He got to 2¼ pounds. It's only 500 calories. You can't hurt yourself with plants, guys. All the vegetables and all the fruits, those are the 2 big categories. Go buy those, bring them home. And all the legumes, beans, peas, peanuts, I don't care. Go buy those, bring them home. And then the nuts and seeds. And if you buy those in the shell, you're going to be a lot better at keeping control of calories. You guys ever try to eat copious amounts of in the shell pistachios without breaking all of your thumbnails completely off? You can't hurt yourself with nuts and seeds when they're in the shell. Vegetables, fruits, and legumes. Done. And then if it's not plants, it's what? What else do we eat? Something with a face or a family has to die for me to be happy. That's the way it works. That's the way it works for any other animal. So we eat animals. Okay, now I like 0 impact animal food, so I like to go hunt my own food. 0 carbon footprint, no suffering. If you don't want, who hunts in here? Okay, if you guys don't hunt, that's great, but we're gonna go get the best food our pocketbook will allow, right? So this is what I'd like to see. By the way, all animals are edible. I don't care what animal it is, eat it. Okay, if you want crickets for protein, you can eat crickets. Those are totally fine. There's somebody making protein for humans out of crickets. Okay, go for it. I like the eggs and the bacon and the steak. That's way better. Okay? Here's how I do this at home. To be super successful with food, this is all we bring in the house. It's either plants or animals. Local, seasonal, as organic as your pocketbook will allow. Done. And then when it's time to feast, damn it, feast. Time to eat Auntie Annie's pretzels, eat all of the damn pretzels and stop feeling bad about it. You guys know Auntie Annie's pretzels, right? Yeah. Do you guys want to know my order when it's Auntie Annie's pretzel day? 4 pretzel dogs, 2 giant orders of cinnamon bites, and a backpack-sized lemonade. Yep. Yeah, it's 4,000 calories. Just shove it in there. I can still wiggle around a little bit when it's over. I'm like, I need a nap. Okay. Here's what we do. This is what I do with hundreds of clients a year. You take 2 days a month to do whatever you want with food. Those are your days. This is your life. Go have fun. 2 days. 2 days a month to feast. The other 29 days, plants and animals. Try to shorten that feeding window a bit, you guys. The number 2 secret to longevity. I'm going to remind you of number 1. The number 1 secret to living a long, healthy life is make sure you are needed, valued, loved, and important by a bunch of people, more than just your family. The number 2 secret to longevity is your self-healing machine will eat itself if you stop feeding it, and it never eats the strong first. So the number 2 secret is stop eating so damn much food. You're going to be fine if you go a couple of days and your stomach's going, hey, dude, you should eat. You're going to be great. Mine says, dude, hers might not, okay? Shorten your feeding window to about 6 to 8 hours. Eat 2 meals, not 10, in a 6 to 8 hour window. This is called humans before refrigeration, and now it's a diet fad. As this is a normal part of humans when we go back outside. You don't eat every 2 hours. You eat whenever there's food, and it's going to be a shorter window because, first of all, you got to go get some. That means 18 hours a day, Dan's body is eating itself, using the fat for fuel, eating the weak to make new, strong Dan. I love this. This is every longevity expert on the planet is giving you this advice, by the way. None of them have ever said eat 3 meals a day and 3 snacks. Those are the bodybuilding guys from the 60s telling you that. There's no longevity expert that's ever said that's a good idea. Breakfast is the most important meal of the day, was sold to you by Kellogg's. And we forgot where that came from. Just like most of you don't know where 10,000 steps comes from. That's a lie too, but I'll tell you about it. It's a fun lie. I haven't eaten yet today. Do I look like I'm weak and lethargic and ready to just keel over and die? I haven't eaten a thing yet today. I'm not going to eat until we hang out, or until Dan and I hang out for dinner night at 5:30. I'm not going to eat until 5:30. Doing great. This thing is that you want the best mental clarity you've ever had? Quit eating. Because guess what this thing has to do to get better and get food tomorrow? It has to get sharper mentally. It has to get faster physically. That'll happen until about day 5 before it starts tapping into its own muscle. Shorten your feeding window on a regular basis after you've kicked the sugar addiction by switching to plants and animals first. And shorten your feeding window to about 6 to 8 hours and watch how much easier this thing gets.
You're gonna eat because you're hungry, or are you gonna eat because it's time? Like, are you like, oh, it's time? Or
Yeah,
you're
when
gonna wait?
I'm not hungry, I don't eat. And I'm a little hungry now because normally I'm feeding at 1 o'clock, but I didn't today. So I'm a little hungry, but it's not weird. It's not like, oh my God, I gotta eat. I'm not hangry. You guys ever get hangry? Do you know what hangry is? I'll tell you what the scientists are telling us. If you are emotionally attracted to food and you're grumpy about not eating, it's because your body can't burn its own fat. You should never get emotional about not eating. That's a signal. It's a primary signal that you're unable to burn your own fat if you get grumpy because you haven't had a meal. That's crazy. That's a sign that you've got to do something different because it shouldn't be like that. I haven't eaten since yesterday at about 4:45. We ate an early dinner so I could catch a late flight here. 4:45. It's going to be 24 hours before I eat. Great. Totally fine. I can skip that meal too. I'm not going to be broken because of it. And I'm not hangry about it. I'm a little hungry, but I'm not hangry. It's okay to feel that.
Would you increase your water intake on those days?
I just leave it the same. I'm in this really awesome pattern. When I'm home, it's one pattern. When I'm traveling, it's another pattern. It's 1 cup of coffee at home, 2 cups of coffee when I'm traveling. It's always a liter of water before I even do anything. Like I won't leave my hotel until a liter of water is in my body. That's just how it works. I'm always meditating before I leave the hotel. I meditate in my sauna when I'm home. Exercise happens right around 1 o'clock, usually a little before, and then I shove that first meal in. Well, when I'm traveling and I do a morning event, I go exercise right away and then I eat my first meal. So it's a little delayed when I travel. Pretty much the same patterns. It's always 3 liters of water. A little bit less depending on my flight schedule. So I always sit at the window and I know I'm about to depart next week. So I just taper a little bit if I'm sitting at the window seat on a 5-hour flight. Yeah, pretty much the same stuff. I still put a little protein in my coffee because that's awesome, because it helps keep you full. I put like a little 10-gram protein pack in my coffee every morning. It's less than 35 calories, so it's not technically severing that feeding window. You guys ever use protein in your coffee as a creamer? Ooh, Vital Proteins. You guys are gonna want to pick some of that at Costco. Vital Proteins vanilla. It's just a scoop. Put a scoop in your coffee and you whip that up in the blender. And it tastes just like you've got a latte and there's no sugar. It's just collagen protein and it froths up like a creamer. It's amazing.
What's it called?
Vital Proteins, collagen peptides. You'll see it. Costco has it pretty much front and center in there where they've got the rest of their supplement stuff. Is food easier? Guys, food should be fun. We live in America. It should be really fun. So when it's time to have pizza, eat all the pizza. Stop feeling bad about it. Just don't go do that every weekend, or you're probably not going to get the results that you're looking for. This is easy because if I put you back out there, that's all you're going to get. So let's keep the brownies, right? Especially if you live in Colorado, keep the brownies. Eat the whole pan. Why are there dragons in the kitchen, Dan? What was in those brownies? Some of you guys don't have any idea what I'm talking about. Here's how exercise works outside. You go get your plants or you don't eat. You go get your meat or you don't eat. Period. End of story. If you're going to forage slowly. Plants are incredibly slow, but you're going to need to get those every day. If you hunt, you might not have to hunt every day, but man, that's going to be a way different movement pattern, isn't it? Let's look at kids. Let's just get our cues from children. How do kids move around most of the time? Just like whatever, you know, but then when they're playing, what do? You guys raise kids. How do kids play? Burst, rest, and then 20 minutes later, it's nap time or they're hungry. How do lions hunt? Yeah, kind of the same way, right? High intensity interval training, and that's how lions hunt. It's how humans play. Go play more, way more. Tennis, isn't that this? Isn't basketball this? Isn't racquetball this? Isn't that high intensity bursting exercises in a short amount of time? That's lions hunting, okay? This sometimes is called Tabata, or what I call any racket sport is Tabata, isn't it? Or even ping pong. Lots of movement, short bursts, and then you're done. How about we put a label on this one and call it Peloton workouts? Because you guys know what happened after Peloton released the virus, right? Their sales went up. You guys have never looked at the graphs correlating Peloton sales and the virus, have you? Guys, there's some stuff we need to point out. I'm kidding, of course, but it's just too coincidental that now they're filing for bankruptcy and the virus is gone. Peloton took an old school at-home spin bike that people used to use as a coat hanger after the second month, and they put a screen on front and said, "Don't be last." And that worked because we hunt way better as a group, don't we? Who's ever gone to a fitness class and done way better in the class than they would have at home? Spin class, yoga class, hot yoga. We go to Lifetime Fitness. They have a class called Drip. Has anyone gone to Drip at Lifetime Fitness? Guess how you look when you're done? Drippy. Yeah, it's we go to a class called Shred, and if you go often enough, you're shredded. It's amazing, right? But we work harder in a group than we do alone because we're tribal creatures and we are pain avoidant. We were programmed to avoid pain at all costs. And damn it, this hurts. Hurts the lungs, hurts the muscles. If you go in a group, you're way more successful. This doesn't hurt at all, though, does it? Just get up and wander around. Pretty easy. Let me tell you, the secret to weight loss, forage more. Pam was bone on her left knee when I met her, part of a workplace wellness program we were doing at her tech company in Chicago. She's like, "Dan, I can't lose weight. I've been gaining weight nonstop after my doctor said I need a knee replacement." 2 years earlier, she had her right knee done, and she kept gaining weight because she couldn't exercise because of her left knee. I said, "Pam, I don't need you to exercise. I need you to move. Just get up more and walk more." So I made her commit to 10,000 steps a day. Pam had a knee surgery scheduled in 2 months. So she had 2 months to get some weight off so she'd recover faster. Her first 2 months, she lost 30 pounds. No gym, no exercise, just move more. She had her knee replacement, and right after her knee replacement, the 2 months prior, she lost another 15 pounds. 45 pounds in 4 months, and in the middle of it, she had a total knee replacement. You guys don't need the gym to lose weight. You need to stand up more and go get a bunch of plants. The average American moves 3,000 steps a day. There's no clinical evidence behind 10,000 steps. It's a made-up number from a Japanese marketing company in 1960 to sell pedometers. Have you guys heard that? Yeah. Look how well some marketing works, right? I think Captain Crunch should say because you hate the roof of your mouth, because then everyone would want Captain Crunch. Just like the pedometer thing, 10,000 steps a day, it was driven into the head so often that we repeat that like there's clinical evidence. There is none. It's a trick to sell pedometers, and it worked. And I like it. The clinical evidence, by the way, if you look at Dr. Lee's study in 2019 in the Journal of American Medical Association, Dr. Lee published a study that shows 7,500 should be your baseline minimum for steps every day. Oops, that's 75,000. 7,500, because that's where the clinical evidence from her 5-year observational study was. And if you guys haven't looked at that, it's not too exciting. She just watched how 72-year-old women moved and then watched how they died based on their movement patterns. And she found that at 7,500, there was a radically reduced overall mortality rate compared to the average steps, which is 2,400 in that study. So the clinical evidence is there. It's just move more. That's the clinical evidence. Okay. Now, some people say we can't use observational studies when we're telling people what they should do. Well, let's look at downside risk. If you're moving 2,400 steps now and I say, let's jump you to 75, what is the downside risk? Think of one. Yeah, think hard, because there isn't one. I'll tell you right now, there is no downside risk if I stand you up and move you more. Unless there's bears, then it's going to get weird, right? Other than that, there is none. So move more. Well, I want to show you something very important, okay? I want you to take a look at him, okay? And then I'm going to have you stand up for me. Watch this. He hits gravity on his feet. In between his upper body, there's a lot of weight up here, and his earth that's supporting him, he's got hips, knees, and ankles. He's got leg muscles, and he's got butt muscles. So his upper body is supported by large leg muscles and 3 joints. Where's his upper body supported? These tiny little muscles in the lower back. So who's more at risk of a lower back injury, him or him? Crazy, right? Who's burning 3 times more calories? He is. I just tripled his calorie burn by standing him up and lowered his incidence of potentially getting a lower back injury. And all we had to do was stand him up. Now, if I leave you there and you go, I've already seen it, and just let him stand there, he already did this. Okay? I've been doing that all day in front of you. You go ahead and sit down. I've been doing this all day. Just that. That was a step. There's another step. How many steps do you think I've got today? Should we guess? Let's guess. Somebody take a guess. I did another one of these this morning, by the way. But that's all I've done. I sat in my.
11,000 steps.
How many?
11,000.
11,000?
4,000.
4,000? We're gonna let this update. Just give it a second. While we do that, let's talk about this. 10,000 steps is your baseline minimum if you're gonna operate today. If you can't get that, you're right. But if you say, no matter what, I'm gonna get that, then do that. Okay, I don't want you running around the house at 10 o'clock at night because you're trying to get your steps in. That's absurd. Do better tomorrow, but at least look. I mean, it really helps to look. I've got 9,562 steps. I haven't done anything. I've just been standing. So
You're tracking it from the ring.
yeah, from the ring is tracking this for me. So I can trick this ring and just wave to you guys all day, and it's gonna think I'm doing something, but it's also measuring heart rate and calorie burn. So eventually I'll flush out the data. Guys, here's how this works. This is what Stanford tells you to do. Stanford has been looking at humans and standing and moving, and this is their advice. Stand up for half an hour, sit down for half an hour, stand up for half an hour, sit down for half an hour. Just repeat that throughout the course of your day. Half an hour sitting, half an hour standing. That means at work, get a standing desk that you can sit or stand at and alternate every half an hour. Because then what happens when I get home? Well, I got most of that done. I'll get at least 6,000 or 7,000 steps. Then I just take the dog for an extra walk. Done. Got my 10,000 in. You will find that there are studies on this. They're fascinating when they called sitting the new smoking. And what they did is they took marathon runners who were training for marathon that still sat for 9 hours a day. And they looked at health outcomes compared to their counterparts who didn't train for the marathon and sat for 9 hours a day. And you know what they found in marathon runners? No net benefit whatsoever. Because for 9 hours a day, they were still sitting there doing nothing. So if you want to make this super effective, stand up, move more. You're less likely to snack when you're standing. You're going to get more movement in, and you're going to take some stress off your lower back, right? That's great. Make that part of your workday, build that in. And then on occasion, 3 times a week, I want you going to hunt your meat. Hunt, fast, violent, explosive. Get on a Peloton, do a Tabata workout 3 times a week. Or go join a CrossFit class. Or the first $1 billion brand in fitness. Does anyone know what it is? It's a gym you can go to. Orange Theory. Yeah, amazing. They took hunting and they standardized it across the tribal relationship. So if you're hunting here and you've got a friend in New York, you both do the same workout, you compare how you did. Kind of like CrossFit, right? Only CrossFit had a little too many injuries on the tendons and the joints because it's a little intense. How many of you guys won't join a CrossFit class because, man, that's intense and you don't want to be shamed? Yeah. It's tough, you guys, but how many of you would go to the gym with me and go to a class where we're going to get on a spin bike and at the front of the room, there's a live DJ playing music. And for an hour, we're just going to rock out on that bike. Would you do that? Lights flashing. It's like a little disco in there. And the only ticket to entry is to ride your little butt off on that bike. It's amazing.
Probably not the same class you want to go to. I'm probably go to the other class.
Yeah, you know, where I'm not watching, just
I gotta see the other guys that look more like.
just go a couple rows in front of me, you guys. You're going to be fine. Like, I'm not that intimidating. It just works that way. So go do something fun. Find something you love to do. This is jujitsu or kickboxing or Tabata or shred or drip or cycling class or Orange Theory or CrossFit. Find some stuff that's hard. Move really fast. Pick up really heavy things 3 times a week. It's good for your testosterone. It's good for your libido. It's really good for your longevity. You guys want the 3 markers for longevity? Right now, there are 3 tests that we can run, get an average of these 3, and you can predict how long you have left to live. You guys ready for these? Because nobody talks about these because the doctor won't do them. Number 1 test for how long you have left to live is what is your VO2 max? That's how much oxygen can you use at most? That's a number. 0 to 100. If you have 100, you're some superhuman, right? I think the highest recorded VO2 max is in the 80s. I think it's still Greg LeMond. I'm not sure. I have to relook that up. Second one, leg strength as measured by a leg extension machine. That's the second marker of human longevity, is how strong are your legs. Third one, grip strength as measured by a dynamometer. Put those 3 together, we can predict how long you have left. Because if you're 50, I'm 51, you guys. If my muscles are failing and then my hands are weak, what's going to happen when I fall? Probably going to break something. Do you know one of the most fatal things to happen to a 78-year-old in this country is to fall over? It's almost always fatal. Well, what happens if I have good grip strength, good leg strength, and I can still do this at 51? Do you think I'm going to lose this when I'm 70? To be able to stand here on 1 foot? This is awesome, because then I'm less likely to fall. And if I do fall, I have strong grip and strong legs to support that fall. VO2 max is a representation of how the motor runs. The higher the number, the better the motor. Like with anything, the better the motor, the longer it's going to last. So I would encourage you, get this tested. Does anyone know their VO2 max? Go get that tested. Most gyms will do this as long as they have an exercise physiology set up. It's just like a cardiac stress test. You guys have probably done those at the doctor. It's the same thing with the gas exchanger on. And then see how much you can extend on a leg extension machine. And then if you have somebody with a dynamometer, see how much you can pull on the grip. There's charts for all of this stuff. They're available on Google. If you fit in your age range right in the middle, do better. Because I don't want you as average in your age range. I want you 20 years younger. So how old are you? 50. Look, I can ask men that and they answer right away. If I asked her that, she'd be like, how dare you? Right? Penelope gets offended when people ask her age. I'm like, Pen, you can't stop time. You should be, everyone thinks she's 35. She's 48 until she puts her readers on. They're like, she's got to be over 40. So you're how old?
50.
50. So I want you operating like the average 30-year-old man. Because that means you're going to live a lot longer than if you're operating as the average 50-year-old male. Because what do we know about average? How's average work in the United States? As it gets worse and worse every year. It really does. So let's go a little lower than that and try to operate as a younger person. Questions on exercise? I want you to combine strength training and yoga and some just wandering around and some occasional super fast, super high intense, heavy lifting stuff so that you can just put together an average week that involves a little bit of all of that. And then just make that a pattern. Like your life depends on it, because it might. Hormesis or anti-fragility is, there's a great graph for this, because it's a dose-benefit relationship between you and something, okay? Now, I'm not looking at my text, I'm just checking the time, because I don't want to go past 4. Dose benefit, like, I don't know, let's pick up 20-pound weights. You guys want to go curl 20-pound weights with me? Curl those as many times as you can, small dose, huge benefit. It's called bigger biceps, right? We do the curls for the girls. That's how it works if you're a dude. Okay. Okay. Pick up the 90-pounders, tear that thing right off the bone. So as I increase the dose, I could create not only no more benefit, but detriment to the system. So if I were to graph bicep curls, it would graph like that. Well, if I graph bone density, it's going to graph like this too. Jar it against gravity, good benefit, too much, wrecks the system. If I graph your immune system, let's graph smallpox like this. We don't need smallpox, so we always start there. But if I give you a tiny little bit of weakened smallpox, huge benefit. Chickenpox, measles, you name it. The vaccines are that, are they not? Or the chickenpox parties they used to have back when I was a kid. Anyone ever remember doing that? Okay, same thing, small benefit, small amount of toxic poison, and we get better. Too much of it and we die. Does the system make sense? Because your cardiovascular system is that way too. Get into an exercise session where your vasculature expands, and the more often you do that, the more compliant your blood vessels are. That's awesome. If you do that too often, you can wreck your vasculature. Okay, right now you guys are sitting at 99 degrees. If something gets in there that doesn't belong, what does your body do to kill it? It attacks it, and there's a pyrogen cascade that happens locally, and then it cascades through the body that does what to your temperature? Drives it up to about what? What's fever-ish that's still kind of normal? 101? Maybe 102? What's feverish that's, oh my God, you better be in the hospital? Do you guys know?
103.6.
Yep, about 104, you better be in an ambulance, because at 106, you're dead. There isn't a single person in here that won't be dead or in a coma at 106. Most of you will be dead. Some of you will be able to live to 110, but then you'll be dead. This is a 7-degree fragile curve, and this self-healing machine knows if something gets in that doesn't belong, I'm going to cook it out, and it's going to die. The average American, when they get a fever, does what? Takes a fever reducer and goes to work. That sound like a good idea? It is if they're your employee and you need them at work that day. It's probably the worst idea ever for everyone involved, because now they're going to cough all over and spread that thing, and it's going to last longer. Guys, this is a self-healing machine. This thing will never go above 103 unless there's a wicked viral infection in there or some sort of hardcore bacterial problem. As an adult, you will very rarely see anything over 102. So watch that and keep an eye on that and get with your doctor. But man, reducing that fever is probably the worst idea, especially initially. Well, what if we don't talk about getting sick? Let's just leave that to the doctors. What if I did this intentionally to myself? What if I'm the one controlling the dose and I made my body hot? Then what happens? Well, when I'm ready to cool off, I just step out of that heat. What happens if I do that every single day for the rest of my life? Can you see some benefit that might happen there? Let's look at physiologically what happens when you get hot. Number one, your vasculature expands. That means bigger blood vessels delivering more nutrients all the way down to these peripheral tissue and these peripheral tissue and this giant 3-pound peripheral tissue in your head. Better blood flow means more nutrients. That's good for the whole system. When I step out, I vasoconstrict back down to normal. I do that again and again and again, and I get more vascular compliance. And vascular compliance has been shown in every study done in humans to lead directly to less heart attack and stroke. The more bendy your blood vessels, the better off you are for heart attack and stroke. I'm also going to burn calories when I'm hot to cool off. Those calories are going to be from sugar. So not only is this assisting in weight loss, it's also lowering overall glycemic load, which is amazing if I'm struggling with diabetes or Alzheimer's. I'm also going to get a better mood Charles Rasan at the University of Wisconsin has shown a single half-an-hour sauna session can increase mood for 26 hours. You guys ever step out of a sauna frowning? There's a lot of cool stuff that happens when we do this hot on purpose. You also get heat shock proteins. In your healthy cells, the weak cells die. I love that part. The weak cells die. Well, what happens if we want to see this in the macro instead of the micro? Well, let's go put heat pressure on the deer population. Who dies first if it's 130 outside for the weak? The weak deer die first. The strong find a way. That's what happens in this thing when I put heat pressure on it. Weak die. Heat shock proteins protect the strong cells and stay activated for 22 hours, reducing inflammation the rest of the day. Doesn't matter what you want. If you heat up to 101, those things are going to happen. If you do that every day, I can show you what might happen. Journal of American Medical Association, 2015, 21-year study. Do you guys know what study I'm referring to here? Mainstream Medical Journal, 21 years. This is Dr. Laukkanen from Finland. He looked at his patients who saunaed every day, those who saunaed 3 times a week, and those who never saunaed at all. And then he looked at over 21 years, how are these people dying and of what? And what he found was, now again, another observational study, but what's the downside risk of sauna? Your heart rate's going to go up, watch your heart rate's going to get weird. That's the only downside risk, is your heart rate will go up, it'll feel like just exercise. After adjusting these numbers for lifestyle factors, knowing that people sauna every day probably ate better, drank less, smoked less, and exercised more. So these numbers were adjusted downward to account for lifestyle factors. This is his data, 21 years. Those who sauna 3 times a week versus those who didn't showed a 30% decrease in cardiovascular death. That's 250,000 Americans getting their lives saved if we just make them sweat 3 times this week. And the side effect, if they screw it all up, hey, change your shirt and you're going to get weirdly hot. 20% reduction in death from all causes in that group and a 40% reduction in the occurrence of Alzheimer's. I'm going to remind you guys, because some people aren't paying attention to what's happening with some of the drugs being prescribed to humans. Last year, the FDA approved an Alzheimer's drug that has 3% efficacy. Placebo has 4. There's 40. It's hilarious that they approved it. 8 people of the 28-person team on that advisory board resigned because of that decision, because it didn't even beat placebo and they approved it anyway. They say it's going to be the next blockbuster drug for Alzheimer's. Yeah, here's 40% reduction. Nobody talks about it because there's no sauna lobbying our lawmakers to make sure this is approved. Can you imagine if your insurance covered a sauna purchase? That'd be amazing. I'd love that. That's the small numbers, because those who saunaed every day in this study had a 50% reduction in cardiovascular death, a 40% reduction in death from all causes, and a 65% reduction in Alzheimer's. And I'm not saying sauna cures Alzheimer's, but you guys, when I vasodilate, get more nutrients, get less sugar, get calories being burned, I'm going to have a positive effect on the whole system. If I do that for a half an hour every day, oh my God, stand back, because the only side effect, if we mess it all up, is watch that heart rate. It's going to get dicey in there.
Does that work on hot tubs?
Yeah, so the rule is that you should heat yourself up to about 2 degrees for half an hour. If that's in a giant bowl of soup with carrots in it, like Bugs Bunny used to do, great. If you're in the hot tub and you can enjoy a beer in there, it's not warm enough. We need to really heat that up. So the rule is it should be extraordinarily uncomfortable, yet within your safety boundaries. Hot tub works. Heck, you can just take your kettlebells outside and go swing them outside. It's going to work, because here in Nashville, you have the largest infrared sauna in the world. Do you guys know what that is? It's called outdoors. It's an infrared sauna. So just take your workout outside, because it's a fantastic way to heat up, and then you get some vitamin D, and it's just delicious. Most of us won't do that though.
What is,
Okay.
there you go.
I was gonna ask, why don't insurance companies cover a sauna?
Because nobody's lobbying them to cover it. The only reason drugs ever hit formulary is because pharmaceutical companies put pressure on the or the insurance companies to put them on the formulary. I was in that business for 10 years. That's the only reason insurance companies cover drugs, is because pharmaceutical companies pressure them to do so. There's no sauna lobby. That's why. This data is pretty irrefutable. A lot of people say, yeah, it's observational, who cares? how are you gonna do a double-blind placebo-controlled study at heat? I don't know, I think I was in a placebo group. I'm like, yeah, of course you're gonna know, right?
What about that, when you said something about the infrared, a lot of the saunas that you can go to are infrared, what's the difference?
That's the best thing you can do indoors, because that's what you get out there.
Okay.
So I like infrared the best. You get deeper wave penetration into the skin.
Okay.
So, but I also like heat, or like just regular hot, dry saunas. I like wet saunas as well. But you guys, we don't turn those things up enough. We want to go in and be comfortable. No, you're going in to kill the weak. And if you kill the weak, it's going to be uncomfortable, because the strong need some pressure on them. So the weak die and the strong know what to do. So my sauna, if you guys come into my sauna, it's dicey. At 45 minutes, it's like, I don't know how I'm going to survive. That's good. That's how I start every day. Because then the rest of my day is easy, because my sauna tried to kill me. What's that? So, guys, I bought one of those thermometers that's designed for super high temperatures, and I put it 12 inches from the panel, because that's where I usually sit. It's 185 infrared. Yeah, it's stupid hot. For infrared saunas, normally you don't see above 150. Yeah, I found a way. I heat it up for 45 minutes before I ever go in it. Yeah, it's great. It's fantastic. Because then I start my day with a smile. Because like I'm leaving that sauna, like that was amazing. I almost died in there every single day. And I know what that's gonna look like. And you guys, I don't even bring a phone in the sauna. This is nothing, just sitting there and meditate. Let me end with one thing, and then we'll do some questions if you guys have it. There's no fireworks at the end of this. I want to end with this. Why do we suck so bad at remembering some things? The important stuff we don't forget, do we? Right? Are you married?
Yes.
When's your wedding day?
So,
The 22nd of September
don't
22nd.
put me on the spot.
No, I like it.
But my wife's not here.
But that was fairly quick, right? Now you hunt on occasion? You hunt?
Yes,
Do you know the difference between a rattlesnake and a garter snake?
yes.
Now, watch this. What did you eat for lunch 6 days ago?
No clue.
No idea. Don't even think about it? He has to first figure out what 6 days ago was. But watch this. The important stuff. The stuff that's deadly if he forgets, like his anniversary, like the difference between the snakes. He'll remember like that. But the stuff that's not important, we forget, because our brain only has a certain amount of capacity. But what if that stuff we're forgetting has a giant impact if we forget too long? So here's what I want you to do, because you suck at remembering some of the mundane stuff. Let's write down 3 things a day. You're already doing these things, so you don't have to add anything to your life. Just log them. And you guys, I made a spreadsheet for you that when you log a good number, the whole cell turns green. And when you log a number that you need to pay attention to, the whole cell turns red. So I made a spreadsheet that's color coded. First thing I want you to write down is just 3 things. You're already doing these 3 things. Don't do anything different, just put them on paper. First thing is, how many hours did you sleep last night? What did your ring tell you slept? What did your Fitbit say? Did you sleep 8 hours? Good, that cell will turn green for you. I don't have a green marker. Let's use our imagination. If you only slept 6 hours and you put a 6 in there, the entire cell will turn bright red. Do better. Second thing is a number. It's another number. How many steps did you take today? Don't go run around before bed. How many did you get? Did you get 10,000 or better? Good. As my average day is 15,000. That's just how I operate, because I've designed my life around it. The average American gets 3,000. Hey, man, that's not going to be health. And then I just put a Y or an N. It's a yes or no question. Did you eat plants and animals? Yes or no? If you only ate plants and animals, bacon and eggs for breakfast with a small bowl of berries, steak and lobster for dinner with a side of asparagus, you get a yes for the day. I'll give you 1 alcoholic beverage that day, as long as it's reasonable, and still take a yes. Reasonable, gentlemen. The fingers of scotch go this way, not this way. Okay, it's 2 fingers in this direction, and it's not these 2 fingers. If you had 2 drinks, or if you had donuts, or if you had goldfish, crackers, and French fries, you're taking a no. Every day you have 3 boxes. If they're all green, and at the end of the week you have 21 green boxes, expect 1.5 pounds of weight loss, expect a better mood, expect to feel better, look better, act better. That's just going to happen as a side effect of making sure these are aligned with what's supposed to happen. If these are all red, expect nothing about health. It's not going to be healthy. I can't say disease is going to happen, but I can tell you health isn't going to accidentally stumble upon you because you're not doing the stuff conducive to health. That's all you got to do. Log 3 things. And look, if all these suck, do better. Just pay attention. All you have to do is just pay attention. I'm gonna start tracking my sleep and making it better. I'm gonna make sure no matter what, I get 10,000 steps a day. Change your food, change your movement, change your sleep. You're already doing those things. That's it. We do this in workplace wellness programs. We have employees track 3 things. We use the same spreadsheets. You show me 84 green cells for the month, I'll give you a free day off. We do that all the time to motivate people to health. Guess what happens in 30 days of this? I see people losing 15 to 20 pounds that need to lose weight. Just because they're trying to win a free day off, it's amazing. All you have to do is clean up 3 things that you're already doing. Now, why do most of us fail? It's because we forgot the answers to 3 things. So in life, in business, in your health, I want you to write down the answers to these 3 questions. And this is the most important one, isn't it? Why did you bother getting out of bed today? Like, why are you guys here? Nobody forced you to come to this meeting. Nobody forced you to hang out and listen to me. Why did you show up today? Heck, why do you get up most Thursdays? Why? What is the driving force that gets you out of bed? Put that on a piece of paper. Because when you start slipping, I'm going to bring you back to that. I woke up today so somebody in the room doesn't die like my dad. Do you think I want to be in Nashville? Penelope's at home. My dogs are at home. My house is at home. I want to be home. I love Nashville though. Come on, it's fun. But I'm not enjoying Nashville with Penelope. I'm alone in somebody else's bed driving somebody else's car. That makes me sound dirty. But it's true. It's most of my life. And I show up for you guys. So somebody doesn't die like my father. That's what gets me out of bed every morning, is my obligation to others so that they can learn some lessons from my dead father. I'm going to do that for 130 years. I want to know how long you want to be alive. That's important because you have a lot to say about it. Mine's 130. Both my parents' age combined together. And then the most important question I will ever ask you, I'll ask you again as we wrap up. Who is helping? You will become an average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. We all know that. We've all heard that. We've told our kids, I don't want you hanging out with those kids. They're bad seeds. They're bad apples. You're going to be just like them. And that's true because we're tribal creatures, and whatever the tribe is doing, we're going to do. If everyone you hang out with never exercises, they drink and they smoke and they eat fried foods, you're probably going to do that. Hang out with people that won't allow failure, that won't tolerate failure, that hold you to a higher standard, and you will succeed. And I like knowing that because I'm going to tell you who my accountability partners are. You guys ready? You guys are my accountability partners before I ever met you, because I wouldn't have a job doing this if I walked in with a Diet Coke and I was 60 pounds overweight. You are holding me accountable to help me to stay fit and healthy and vibrant. Can you imagine this presentation when I'm 102? It's going to have a bigger impact when I'm 102 than it does when I'm 51, you guys, and I'll still be doing it. I'm not going to retire because this is part of my why. I'll taper off a little bit. I do 125 events this year. I'm not going to do that when I'm 100. I'm going to do something. I want to know who's holding you accountable to a higher standard. Is it just your kids or what? Who else is it? Put a list of names down. Because when you start failing, I'm going to go back to your answers here and we're going to get you back on track. Write these 3 things down and I promise you health just happens as a side effect. So no fireworks at the end. Brian's getting 2 emails from me. One of them has a program guide with all this stuff in it. That's one attachment. There's a suggested reading list. And then I've got a bunch of links in that first email. The tracking sheets are linked in the email. You guys can download those yourself. If you wish your partner could have been here, I've got my 1-hour keynote that they can watch on my website. So all that stuff's coming at you. And the second email is just supplements that I put in to extend my life a little bit longer and where to get your DNA tested if you guys want to do that. What I mean, I'm pretty much right on time. Did I miss anything? Do you guys have questions, Brian?
What's your take on Wim Hof?
I love Wim Hof. Breathing. You guys, if I could do number 7 on my list, it'd be breathing. So I would recommend not only maybe looking into his program a little bit. The guy holds 38 human endurance records. He's just phenomenal. He's one of the few people that's meditated his way out of a bacterial infection that they gave him on purpose. Yeah, the stuff he's done are insane and beyond what we thought humans were capable of. So if you look through some of his research, great. But if you really want some breathing techniques, James Nestor writes a better book. Breath is one of the fantastic books on breathing, and there's a lot of things in there that he talks about that we should implement right away.
What was the first gentleman's name?
Vim is WIMHOF. Wim Hof or Wim Hof, depending on how you want to pronounce that. What else?
What's your opinion on the CPAP machine?
Completely and utterly necessary if somebody's going to die because their body's trying to kill them while they're sleeping. But I like to look at root cause. The CPAP to me is a really good tool, but what's really causing that? One of my friends moved from regular dentistry to only helping people get off of CPAPs through nutrition, through exercise, through taking a look at alcohol's role, and then seeing if the jaw needs to be moved slightly forward by putting a dental implant in at night. Because some people, it's just the fact that their tongue is so fat they can't do it. So they just move the jaw slightly forward and that eliminates the need for CPAP. I say leave it, but let's see what root cause looks like. I've had a lot of folks that are off their CPAP because they lost 30 pounds. So I like them. I think they're fantastic for keeping people alive because sleep apnea is real, but what's the true root cause of it? And can we get to somebody that's addressing that with us?
What's a good body fat percentage to be at?
So I like to keep my dudes, if I'm looking at, I'm not looking at athletes, I'm not looking at people standing on stages, I'm looking at good body fat percentage for longevity. I keep my dudes under 15 and I keep my women under 20. But it really depends. For women, it's really tough because if they have a lot of stuff up here, it's all fat. So, I meet people that will never get under 20 because they're carrying a lot of weight up here because women are the only people on the planet that can make new people. All of us came from one. So they're going to be a little bit trickier based on their body composition and how they start. But I like my guys under 15. And when I work with women, I don't even focus so much on body fat unless they really want to be curious. And then ideally, a little less than 20. If I look at most Americans, we've got about 42% of Americans that are overweight and 38% that are clinically obese. Do you guys want to add those numbers up? Because that's what we have for a weight problem. It's 8 out of 10 people have a problem with weight. And the solution is just sleep more, move more, eat better foods. It's just, this is really hard because society is telling you not to do this. Don't go to sleep. I got stuff to sell you. There's an app. Look at all the pretty pictures on Instagram and don't stop looking because there's ads in there too. Right? There's a game on. There's something to watch. How many of you guys have streamed a Netflix series and watched just one more episode? Okay, just one more. And then it's 2 in the morning and you're like, oh my God, we got to work tomorrow. You guys ever do that by accident on purpose? Right. So our society is hard, but when I go back outside, this is easy. Just go hiking for a week. That's the natural state of humans. Is whatever happens out there for the next week. It's always 8 hours of sleep when we're out there on the trail after hiking all day. It's 28,000 steps when we're moving around all day. And the food you find out there is always appropriate.
The food formulas too get marketed. It's so complicated. Macros and micros and all this stuff.
I have an app to sell you. Of course I want to make it complicated. There's no way you can figure this out without hiring me. You guys know a third of my business is training executives one-on-one. And have I said anything up here that you can't do without me? The only reason people hire me is they need an accountability partner that's not going to let them fail. Sometimes we hire the tribe. That's okay. Right? I know guys suffering with PTSD that go to counseling. That's a hired tribe member to help them with the thing. Sometimes that's okay, but God, I don't want people to hire me. Just go do this. It's not complicated. Plants and animals, like it used to happen. Local, seasonal, organic. Done. Go hunting with him. What do you hunt? Deer?
Birds, deer, birds.
Elk?
Oh, yeah,
Bear?
not bear.
Gotta get the fall bear. Fall bear. The blueberry bears taste like blueberries.
I haven't done.
Some of
Most of these.
Guys, the best meat I've ever had in my life is whale. If you ever go to Iceland, there's tribes that are legally allowed to take a certain amount of whales. It's in a way that's still conducive for us to have whales on the planet in 50 years. Go to Iceland and have whale. It's the best meat you'll ever have in your life. Second is caribou, which you can find in Iceland as well. Caribou meat is so good. What else did I miss?
It's kind of open-ended, but I'm just curious on your thoughts about around like 5G and just other like cellular, like
I got a bunch of my friends that are writing books on this right now. So the tinfoil hat guide to or the non-tinfoil hat guide to electromagnetic frequencies or something. I don't remember the exact title. It's in my suggested reading list, but you guys, you're a biomechanical electrical bag of meat. Like this thing fires electrical signals all day. Do you know how I know that? Because Steve Irwin is dead today. And it was a dead shot right in the middle of his heart. Do you know how that stingray hit Steve Irwin's heart right dead center? Because sharks and rays, they have little dots on the front of their nose called ampullae of Lorenzini. And these dots on the front of the nose, you can see that if you ever look at the close-up of a shark. Can you tell I've been scuba diving since I was 19? If you ever look at the close-up of a shark or a ray, all these little dots, their only function is to measure electrical signals. So water gets murky, so you can't use your visual cortex to see, so they use their electrical frequencies to see, and they can see pictures of electrical signals in you. That's how much electricity you have. Well, if I introduce a other electrical field over that, do you think it'll affect that or no? Of course it will. We just don't know what yet. We don't know if the electricity from this TV is really affecting me in a hugely negative manner. There's just too many questions. So a lot of the guys that I know that are really trying to be super healthy will ground their feet, wear shoes that are grounded. They won't carry their phone in their pocket ever. They'll put it somewhere away. They've got bags that you can put those in where no EMF can come out of it. I don't know if that's going a little too far. It sounds a little bit too far for me. I'm a realist. I'm going to live in this society. But I'll ask you the question. Doesn't it feel quieter when you go out into the woods? Like, even though the birds are chirping, the frogs are making noise, and there's all kinds of, it's still quieter. Somewhere this thing feels better when there isn't that. So if I can get rid of it, I like it, but I'm going to tolerate some of it in society. So we don't do any electronics in our bedroom at all. The Ring will, you can turn the Bluetooth off, so it's not communicating. So this, which is very rare because most of the watches will communicate all the time. So we like to go EMF free in the bedroom. As much as we can. The outlets are still going to have some of it. So I don't know. It's fringe and it's really dialing things up, but we all feel better when we're outside. So it is having an effect. We just don't know how much of a negative effect. Certainly, I don't think that this phone on my ear is causing cancer. Really. But who knows? Am I?
So this is a personal question that applies to two of us to a degree. In our county, and probably except for, they're giving the kids that are taking Adderall, they think or believe it's going to help them study better.
Yeah.
My kid leaves high school, goes to college now. I
'Cause
don't
it's
use the
meth.
word routinely. I'm hearing about Adderall
Yeah.
regularly in regards to study.
Mhm.
I'm curious on your feedback on this.
I'm a huge proponent of no drugs, right? No drugs. No, if we can do it, no caffeine, no alcohol, no prescription drugs either. Why do we need Adderall? Because somebody told us Adderall will help. So if you look at Adderall's chemical structure, it's prescription methamphetamine. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It's just one methyl group away from being meth. And it hits the receptors the same, all of it. I'm not a fan at all. Huge fan. I would rather use psilocybin mushrooms and some CBG than I would that prescription drug. Because I can get some really awesome cognitive benefit from psilocybin microdose, not macro, and CBG. If you guys don't know CBG, it's like CBD, only it's a little different in its structure. It's still from the hemp plant, and then psilocybin, of course, we all know that one, right? Magic mushrooms. Microdose that with some of this, we get a better effect. It's not the same, but it's also not chemically addictive. I'm not a fan of Adderall. I'm not a fan of some of the drugs people are putting in to be productive. One of my friends went to a bachelorette party in Tulum, Mexico, and she was the only one of her friends not on at least 4 medications. She's in her 20s, you guys. These are all 20-year-old girls on at least 4 meds. Uppers, downers, mood stabilizers, and they're all in their 20s. What do you think is going to happen to these people in their 50s if they're lucky to make it that long? I can't imagine taking Adderall when I'm in high school and college as a performance enhancer when we don't need it.
It seems like from him to us, it seems to be happening like everywhere, which could be an exaggeration, but
No, I don't
do
doubt it.
hear about it.
I don't think, well, I'm hearing that a lot of doctors are prescribing it because all I have to do to get a prescription is to walk into the doctor's office and say I have back pain. They're going to give me a prescription. If I walk in and say I just can't focus, I just can't study, what are they going to give me? They're going to give me a prescription for Adderall. It's instant. Why do they, like, unless you have a family doc that's been with you for a long time, that's going to say, hey, come on now, be reasonable. You're not getting drugs from me. No, I just walk into any doctor, they're gonna give me a prescription. So I think it's super rampant. If I see that many 20-year-olds in one place that are all on 4 medications, what do you think's happening to those kids in high school and college? It's tragic to me because it's setting us down a road that is hard to recover from. If I'm drug dependent in my 20s, I'm not gonna get any better unless I have a realization. So all we can do is educate. Me as a parent, all I can do is educate my kids. Look, I'd rather see my kids high every day than drinking alcohol. I really would. I don't want them high every day anyway, but it's better that. I'd rather see them on mushrooms than on prescription Adderall. Still not healthy to do it every day, but it's a better alternative. The plants are always going to be a better option. It's sad to me that we're reaching for synthetic chemicals that are made by humans and nobody's looking. Why do you think prescription drug overdoses are the number 3 cause of death in the country? It's because we're not paying attention. People are on 6 medications. They have no idea how they're going to interact with one another. What else then? Because my goal is that you leave here with some information and some tools, and I hope that I've done that. I hope that I'm leaving with only friends. That's all. It's always a goal of mine. I want friends, not enemies. So when you get the follow-up material, guys, Vistage has a rule. What happens here stays here. Please ignore that rule when it comes to the emails that you get from Brian with my name on them. Anything that's in there or on there or attached to that is shareable with whoever you want to see it. And I encourage you to do that if you see that as a necessary thing. And if I can do anything else to help you in the future, reach out. Brian, I'll make sure you get my cell phone and my email. I'm not going to put you on an email list unless you want to join it. But really what I want from you guys is a story. If you do something on this list that improves your life, I don't care if it's a month from now or 6 years from now, please send me an email and tell me what happened so I can share your story with somebody else that might need to hear it. Because that's what it's all about, right? I'm just some creepy bald guy sharing stories from other people that are way smarter than me. So if I get to share your story, that'd be amazing. That's it. No fireworks. I'm done. I'm out. You guys have been fantastic.